All right, welcome to another episode of Grizzly's Cave. This is Grizzly Andrew, and I have a very special guest in person today, which is this is always an honor whenever I can have a guest in person with me. But before I introduce my guest, I do want to mention the GoFundMe account that you folks have heard me plug time and time again. It is Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. The link is gofund.me/9 B as in boy, 2 F as in Frank, C as in Charles, 903. And also the next NAW wrestling event will be Saturday night, June 14th at Nebo, Kentucky at the Nebo Community Center. It'll start at 7 p.m. and doors will open at 6 p.m. and the ticket prices are as follows. Anybody ages 0 to 5, you get in free. Ages 6 to 12 will be $5. And then anybody ages 13 and older will be $8. Concessions are available. And I gotta say, these concessions are very popular. I know they make quite a bit of bank for all these shows. So I promise you won't be disappointed with that. And I also promise you will not be disappointed with the next NAW show. Every NAW show that I've been to or been a part of, it's always been awesome to be a part of. So I promise you, folks, you will not be disappointed. And we definitely hope to see you all out there. And also, you folks heard me mention this during my last episode with JC Flash. Definitely want to keep Kenny Cotton and his family in your thoughts and prayers due to the recent passing of his wife. And also, wrestling legend Sabu sadly passed away at the age of 60. So definitely want to keep his family in your thoughts and your prayers as well. All right. So with that being said, I want to introduce my guest. He has been on this show previously. It's been about 3 months, I think, since he debuted, and it is an absolute honor and a privilege to have him here in Grizzly's Cave again. So, without further ado, I want to introduce the man that helped give me my break in the business, the one and only Just in Styles.
Well, I'm glad to be back. Unlike JC and all them, I can actually make it in person. I'm just saying, no hate, no hate.
Well, in JC's defense, his work schedule and my schedule don't exactly coincide during the week, but yeah, it's kind of a shame we can't record 5 6 hour long conversations and stuff, for those episodes.
I love you, JC. I just had to give you a little hell, man.
I'm sure as soon as he listens to this, he'll be laughing pretty hard about it.
Oh,
So
I'm sure as soon as he records the next one, I'm sure there'll be a jab toward me next. So,
oh, folks, are just with we're only 3 minutes in, and my dang earbuds wound up coming out. So, and I'm only on my second beer. We actually popped open some Coors Banquet. So,
that's right. Actually, my first one. So, and I gotta tell you, they're pretty smooth. So,
it was like I was telling Justin just a second ago. Normally, I get them in the bottles, but the Food Giant don't sell Coors Banquet in the bottle, so I had to settle for cans. But they're still pretty good, and they're nice and cold. So,
yeah, you see how the host is slacking here today.
dang man, well, your pay just went to a half-eaten hot dog.
That sounds about right. That'd be better than some of the pay I got at some of the shows I worked back in the day. A handshake, you didn't get the hot dog in the pie. You just got a handshake. Thank you.
Oh man. Well, first off, I want to say the most recent show had a great turnout, and I'll tell you what I told JC. Even though I wasn't on the card or anything, um, it was an absolute honor to be a part, especially with that being the CNS Invitational. Paying homage to both yours and his fathers. Never got a chance to meet him, but I've heard a lot of great things about him, and they sound like they were great men. And I was telling JC this. There was a picture that I had seen that I think you had posted, and I swear to God, I thought it was you for a second. I was like, I was like, no, 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 that's not Justin Style. That's his father. But I was like, man, spitting image.
That's what everybody tells me. I always tell them though I'm just a little bit sexier. So I've heard that my whole life. It's like he picked you right out of his booty hole, and that's what I always tell them. I'm like, well, that's what they say. We look alike, but I'm just a little bit sexier. But
Yeah.
no, I mean that night was awesome. I mean all the shows are always special to me, but that show right there just it just holds a special place in my heart. It's like
Sure.
I try to kill it every time I go out there, and I know all the wrestlers that we have. They do the same, but it always just seems like that night when we have that once a year, it's just like everybody just brings their A game and it goes just above and beyond.
I won't mention names, but I know there were some that, well, actually, there were quite a few that were really emotional
Oh
about
yeah,
it. And, not only did I see that, I could feel that too. And, like I said, I didn't have the privilege to get to meet either one of y'all's excuse me. I didn't have the privilege to get to meet either one of y'all's dads, but I really wished I could have, really wished I could have been a part, years ago when they were still with us, but I know deep down that night, which I'm pretty sure they're looking down on all of y'all every night, smiling big,
oh yeah. I mean,
but I would say that night they were really, really proud of y'all. I'd take that to the bank. So
well, I mean, it's crazy because like Josh's dad had passed. David had passed like 3 months before my dad had passed, and I remember my dad told me because he passed I think that Thursday, like the weekend before the show, and it was a benefit show for David at the time.
hmm
And I remember like one of the last things Dad told me, was like, he's like, I don't give a shit if I die Saturday. You have that fucking show. He's like, that's for David. He's like, you go do that show. You know, and I mean, just Dad give me the knowledge. And whenever he was actually doing the promoting, because he actually used to promote before him and Kenny Cotton was actually partners for a little bit. And like the worst thing about like being a promoter's son is like everybody just expects everything to get handed to you.
hmm
And is what I always loved was like working under Kenny and my dad was that my dad didn't have any control of my career.
sure,
Whenever he was running Paducah, this is when him and Kenny wasn't running together anymore. But I remember T-Bolt, which I think you met him at the show, big black guy.
okay, I
I
think
think he
so.
sang the national anthem.
Oh, okay, yes, I met him a couple
He's a
times.
legend around here, and in
Sure,
Evansville and all that. He was actually the one that controlled my career. He decided if I won, if I lost, if I went for the belt. Because, like I said, a lot of people get hate. If you're a promoter, if you're the son, family, whatever, they just assume.
right,
And I mean, don't get me wrong, it does happen a lot. You'll go to places and you're gonna realize that promoter's gonna be the world champion or this one's gonna be that. But that's something that we prided ourselves on. Is always what's best for business. It's not what's best for our ego.
sure,
And I mean, I've always been one of them guys. I don't have an ego about it. My thing is we're both out there to make each other look good,
hmm
and that's what I want to do. I'm not greedy in the ring, but I mean, it's just a lot of people get a lot of hate, but especially you see it on Facebook. People talking about the indies or just talking about promotions, and like I see all don't wrestle for free, and it's like I'm sorry when you first start this business, you're gonna be wrestling for free. I don't care who you are.
sure,
It it's gonna happen.
hmm
Because I mean, a lot of people I think sometimes forget that it is a business aspect. Because like especially with these trainees, that we've helped train, and I mean, Ben's been a big part of that, just because of the schedules that me and Josh have, and
sure,
I mean, he's done a lot with them, and I mean, and I tell him every time I see him, man, I appreciate everything you've done, and I mean, I've even talked to the trainees, and they're like, man, we just love it because I mean, getting that ring time is one thing, but that's what a lot of people don't understand. You can do all the training in the world, but until you actually step out in front of a crowd, totally different ball game.
yeah. Um, I'm gonna throw this in there, even though it's not wrestling related, but I believe I've told you this before, but I had some time in community theater.
Right.
Um, being out in front of a crowd and stuff and all that, it's it's a whole lot different. It's scary actually,
Oh yeah.
and for somebody like me who used to have really bad stage fright, um, that's a big
It
hurdle.
takes it away pretty quick, don't
Yes, sir.
it?
But when you said your dad ran Paducah, where did he normally run at?
I can't remember what little town it was, but him and my mom had split up, and he met this other woman, and they started running shows in Paducah. And a lot of people probably don't know this, but there was like a couple years me and my dad didn't even talk. Because I was mad at how everything played out.
Okay.
You know, I don't want to get too deep into it because I'm kind of a private guy, so
Sure.
But I mean, he didn't do things the right way. He lied to me, and that it wasn't even that I guess that he was cheating on my mom or whatever. I guess it was just that you know he lied to me. I asked him if he was doing it because I understand stuff happens between people.
Yeah.
I mean, bad shit happens and it makes you go different ways. Some people can fight them demons, other people can't.
Hmm.
And sometimes you just have to let it out in certain situations. But I remember like everybody's like, you need to forgive him, and finally he reached out. We settled it. But I remember I'd go to Paducah like once a month, and I was usually driving up there by myself, and that's a long drive, when you're by yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Hell, it's a long drive for me, and I live a lot closer to Paducah than
Right,
you do.
right, and that's one of the things that kind of like suck now because like I don't take like bookings like I used to because like a lot of times like I remember Cowboy had said that a lot of times I call Cowboy and I'm like, hey man, I'm headed to Owensboro. I'm going to work for Big B. You want to come?
Hmm.
And that's what I always try to do. Like the guys that actually wanted it, I always tried to take them, and give them that opportunity. Which I think there's in June. I know that we're trying to take some of the trainees to. I think it's a benefit show.
Hmm.
You know, for some of them to get their feet wet because some of them unfortunately aren't 18 and can't legally wrestle in Kentucky.
Right.
Because I mean that's like Josh, stated that's where we had our first match was in Illinois because he wrestled James that night and I wrestled my brother that night. But I remember Paducah was crazy, man. Like sometimes we, like if we had a sold out house, like it was a little ass building, we might have like 50 people and that was sold out.
Really.
Yeah, And I remember going up there for like $20,
Jeez.
But when you love this business, money wasn't a big thing because I remember I'd met a guy that was coming down here from Iowa, and me and him ended up wrestling. I had a pretty good match, and I remember he worked Robbie E one night at the Coal Festival he was at.
Is this the Robbie Eve that was in
Yeah,
TNA? Okay.
yeah, they done the Jersey Shore
Oh
crap.
God. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that.
and I remember that guy was like, "Hey man, would you be interested in coming to Iowa?" I'm like, "Hey man, yeah, I'm wanting to branch out, of course." And I remember we got to talking, and then we got to talking about money, and it was like, "Well, I don't think I'm gonna be going to Iowa." Which it wasn't nothing against him. That was just the business in that day because it ain't like it is now, where you had the social media and you had the Instagram, and I remember we had a woman in Paducah. Her husband was the referee, and she would do these VHS tapes. That's
Okay.
how we watched our matches,
Right.
you know. And I think like toward the end, then she was able to like start burning DVDs.
Yeah.
So
God.
I mean, I might be giving my age away a little there, but
Well, me and you are pretty close in
yeah.
age. If I'm not mistaken, I think you're a tad older than when I say a tad, maybe a year or so older. But yeah, I remember them days of people talking about burning DVDs and all
Right.
this other stuff. But go ahead.
But that's what I tell these guys. Like, y'all got it so much easier than we did. You couldn't get discovered unless you knew somebody or you were at a big show in TNA or WWE or WWF. I guess at the time was what it was probably. Would come by. You couldn't send clips in on YouTube. You couldn't make no highlight video.
Mm-mm.
So. And that's why I tell a lot of these guys, like, take advantages of it. But, Facebook is kind of one of them double edged swords.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, you've seen it on WWE where these guys posted something 10 years ago, And all of a sudden, they're fired.
Mhm.
You know, that's why I try to tell all these guys. You know, that's why I used to tell Dad when he was promoting, especially when he started up now again or whatever. You know, he'd want to post like politics on. I'm like, Dad, you don't need to do that.
Mm-mm.
He'd be like, why? It's my fucking Facebook. You know, that's just how Dad was. You know, and I'm like, I get that, Dad. I was like, but all it takes is if somebody don't like what you put on there as far as politics. You know, say if he put that he was voting for Trump or something. You know, guess what? You're gonna have all these people that hate Trump is gonna try
Mm-hmm.
to boycott your show.
Yep.
I mean, that's why I don't post nothing about politics. I don't post nothing about religion. You know, and that's what these guys have got to understand. Like, if this is something you actually want to make a career out of, you have to sit there and maybe bite your tongue if somebody comments on something, or
Yeah.
you
There.
know, watch what you're putting on there because it could bite you in the ass 10, 15 years from now.
I do not remember this wrestler's name, but a few years back, he got released from WWE because it was basically he made some pro Trump statements and all that, and stood up for,
Yeah.
which is, I don't honestly, me personally, I've got nothing against anybody standing up for their political beliefs and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
That's their
As
prerogative.
long as we can have a simple civil conversation about
Right,
it.
right. Now I don't know all the details. I just know it wasn't too long after he had gotten some heat for that he wound up getting the boot and stuff and all that. But you made a valid point. You know, hypothetically, let's say your dad made pro-Trump statements, and then a
Right.
bunch of anti-Trump folks show
Yeah.
up and boycott and
Yep.
try to cancel the show, and all that. Yeah, no, you're absolutely
And I
right on
mean, it
that.
is unfortunate that way because that's what I told Dad. I said, you have to look at it from a business point, Dad. You know, this isn't, I understand your personal Facebook, but, you know, some people are just looking for a reason,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and it's sad that, you know, that's the case. I mean, you have somebody's out to get you, they're going to scour whatever to try to get you on that one thing.
Um, I see so many folks that post these political comments and post these articles and stuff. I can't tell you how many times I've had to bite my tongue
Oh,
because,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
know, because or hold my fingers back, from responding
Hmm.
basically because I want to quote Jim Cornette here. I don't want to engage in a urination contest with a skunk.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, now about 5 years ago, it was a little different.
Right.
Unfortunately, I wound up losing some friendships over it and stuff. So 5 years later, I've had to bite my tongue, and some people know where I stand, some people don't.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's insane, but you're right. You know what I mentioned Jim Cornette. I would love to be able to talk with Jim Cornette about wrestling. I mean, I could probably sit and talk with him for hours, probably more hours with him than I do with JC,
Oh, yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
But, we he did he me and him are on different sides of the spectrum in
Yeah.
regards to religion and politics and stuff and
Right.
all that. But I would love to be able to sit and talk with that man about wrestling and hear about, when he came into the business and good in stories and stuff like that. I'd
Oh
love to be
yeah, and
able to
I'm sure
sit.
he's got a lot of them.
God,
I mean, all the talent he's been around over the years.
I mean, hell, if he had Mr. Cornette, if you haven't already, you might maybe make like a big encyclopedia or something like that. I mean, with all your stories and knowledge of the business and stuff and all that. I mean, that'd be awesome to hear. But yeah, we can all disagree as long as we're civil with each
Well, I mean,
other.
that's what I never did understood. You know, like I'm not gonna stop being your friend because say you voted for Trump or you voted for Kamala. I don't give a shit about that.
Sure,
That's your opinion. That's your right as an American to vote for whoever you think would run this country better.
sure.
I mean, that's how I feel about it, and that's what I always tell people. You know, if I don't like you, it's not because of your political, it's not because of your religion, it's not because you're black, green, whatever the hell you are. It's because you're an asshole more than likely. That's why I don't like you. Because that's what I tell everybody. You know, like my family, you know, my wife, when I got with her son was 6 years old.
Is this the son that used to work with us at our
Yeah.
previous shoot job? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he was 6 years old. He was half Mexican. His brother, who lives in Hopkinsville, is with a black girl. They're married, have mixed kids, you know, and like, I've had a couple people try to, like, when I play heel or something, try to pull the race card, and it's like, if y'all really only knew, you know. But I mean, that's the thing, as a heel, if they're calling me a racist or whatever, then I'm doing my job.
Mhm.
But I mean, like I said, we all bleed red.
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, don't none of that matter.
That's true.
I've got friends that are gay. I've got friends that are black. You know, and it's just crazy that the world has come to that. I mean,
Yeah.
like I remember when the election was going on between Kamala and Trump. I see moms like disowning their families because they were going to vote for Trump or they were going to vote, and I'm like, really?
It ain't worth that.
No, I mean it's just crazy, man, that the world that we live in today is like that.
Mhm. Um, there was something I was going to tell you, but I guess this second Coors that I drank kind of caused me to be a little inebriated and stuff and
No,
all
I
that.
understand that. It
But
happens.
I was actually going to ask about your dad because I don't ever think I did ask this. What did your dad do for work?
He done plumbing for years. He actually worked with my uncle. Well, it's funny because he's not really my uncle anymore because him and my aunt split up, but we just always still considered him as our uncle. I
Okay.
mean, they were high school sweethearts.
Hmm.
You know, they, like I said, people split different ways. Stuff happens.
Hmm.
Sometimes that grass is greener on the other side. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it ain't. So,
so so you're the son of a plumber. Well, you,
yeah.
wasn't Dusty Rose the son of a plumber too?
Right,
if
right.
if you will, baby.
Yeah, and it's funny because that was always one of Dad's favorites. Him and Ric Flair.
There was a video I was actually listening to before you came over to the cave, and or I'm sorry, it was a reel. I'm sorry. Let me be correct here. It was a reel on Facebook, and it was somebody impersonating Dusty Rhodes, and he was calling these. I guess it was kind of like the Ackridge Farm Supply and stuff stores. Be like he'd say, um, "I'm looking for a Hoffman," and then they'd be, "Do you have a Hoffman there?" And then it was like, how many do you need? I need four. You need four horsemen? Yeah, I need four horsemen for war games or something like that. Then you'd hear his American Dream music from WWF playing in the background. He was
Oh
cutting a
shit.
promo. And then there was another one he called, said he was looking for a horseman named Rick and stuff. And he said, I need Rick to meet me at Starcade. And then there was this woman that answered, and he, sorry, folks, if y'all get a chance, look this reel up. I'm sure you could find it on TikTok and on Facebook. But some woman answered, and then this guy that's doing the Dusty Rhodes impersonation says, "Baby doll, is that you?" And then after she hung up on him, he said, "You Jezebel."
Oh god, that's funny.
Oh God rest his soul. I
Yeah.
swear, man, he was he had that it factor. Um,
Oh yeah.
had that it factor. I mean, no, he wasn't built like Hulk Hogan or Warrior, or we'll even say the Powers of Pain or the Road Warriors. I mean, he wasn't built like any of them guys, but he had that connection with the audience. He had that charisma, and man, he could get the crowd up and going, couldn't he?
Oh yeah, because I mean, like him and Flair's feuds, I mean, just was unbelievable. Dad was a huge Macho Man Randy Savage fan as
Really?
well. Oh yeah, he'd always be impersonating Macho Man.
Did he like the feud that Randy and Dusty had back in? This would have been most of 1990, actually.
Anything that pretty much Dusty or Randy was a part of, Dad loved it. I mean, Dad just loved them three. Ric Flair was probably the one that really, I guess, like connected to me. Him and Ted DiBiase.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved the $1 Million Man. I know he wasn't like a huge name, but I always just loved the gimmick. And when I first seen him, and like with the whole Virgil thing, like when Virgil finally, got enough of his shit,
Mm-hmm.
that was a great storyline. I mean, they built Virgil up to be a superstar, and unfortunately, I mean, how that played out. So
and God rest his soul too. You know, he's another one that sadly passed. But
Yeah.
yeah, they did build him up because Royal Rumble '91 when he whacked DiBiase with that belt of his. I mean, that crowd
Oh
just
yeah. I mean,
exploded.
it was nuts. I mean that's like the last Nall show we had. I mean that crowd was on fire from the time we started till the time we left.
I gotta say, when I'll ask your take on that Slugger Jackson asshole here in a second, but man, whenever he got squashed by that that big monstrous bodyguard that's with the
Yeah,
Nightmares now, I
that's a
mean,
big old boy.
yeah, when Slugger got avalanched, I mean, the crowd just man, that crowd, I mean, you thought it was gonna blow the roof off the Nebo Community Center and stuff when that happened.
Oh yeah, I mean, we sitting in the back watching it on the TV, and I think we were all most of us were cheering.
Dang, do y'all hate Slugger Jackson
I
that
mean,
badly?
you just gotta know the guy. I thought I hated Chad McCoy, but damn, Slugger is getting right up there with him.
Oh, jeez Louise,
You
man.
know, and I think them two maybe need to get together or something. They want to charge for a podcast. I mean, I'd hate to ask Chad. You know, he probably want $1 million check to come on here, and probably had to feed him grapes and all kinds of shit. I'm
Oh,
sure.
fuck.
Probably had to have him get his own recliner or something. I don't know, or a gold microphone or something. There ain't no telling what his damn conditions would be.
Well, I'll tell you this. Slugger Jackson wanted a bunch of zeros added to that paycheck, and I'm sorry, my name's not Paul Heyman, so
Right.
I'm, I'm not going to write checks that are going to bounce higher than a basketball. So no, that ain't
Well, I
happening.
mean, what Slugger gonna come over here and talk about how he's gotten his ass whooped the last 2 or 3 times?
You know, and I got to thinking about that too. For a guy that gets his ass whooped so many times, he talks a lot of
Yeah, he's
shit, don't
pretty
he?
confident, ain't he? I'll tell you what, I hate to see when old JC gets his hands on him.
Oh man, man. Can you imagine what? Can you imagine the massacre that's going to happen? I mean, because you got to think since he came in as an announcer, you know, he basically did nothing but rip into JC Flash. I mean, if I'm not
Yo,
mistaken, he ripped into you, called you out of style.
yeah.
He ripped into Roxo because of Roxo's, you know, music preference. He ripped into Rowdy Red, calling him Santa Claus. But he really ripped into JC Flash, called him a has been,
Oh
washed up,
yeah,
flash
flash
in
in
the
the
pan.
pan. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'd say he's got a lot of receipts coming his way
yeah, I would say
eventually.
so. And then I mean, I know Slugger Jackson's got to be mad because the Nightmares just did not have a good night that night.
Um, according to my sources, no, he was not a happy. He was not a happy camper. So,
Yeah, I'd say not. I mean, they lost the belt. You know, Casanova took the belt, which the crowd was on fire when. Because I mean, the odds were stacked against that boy that night. I
yeah,
mean, no, you know,
yeah.
I was hoping he was going to pull it out, but there for a second, I didn't know. You know, you had Slugger as the ref, you had the bodyguard, you had the other manager out there, and you know, you never know what the Nightmares are going to do. You know, that's the thing about the next show. You know, what are they going to do? Because, like I said, I know that was probably a long talk in the back. I'm sure Slugger wasn't happy with getting avalanched in the corner, and then you know Nick Willis lost his belt. So
Well, you know, and if you remember, I know he definitely wasn't a happy camper in that last match when him and that bodyguard got thrown out
well,
by
yeah,
the commissioner. And you know what was crazy is poor Slugger was still in a lot of immense pain and stuff.
right.
And he was clenching his ribs, you know, during that last match. And anytime he tried to show support for the Nightmares, he'd raise his hand up or something or fist up, and all of a sudden he was, you know, he cringed in pain after.
I know
So
every time I looked out there, they looked like they was in pain. I was like, I seen old big boy. He was hurting too.
yeah, and then well, keep in mind too, Slugger and Coy Daniels is little running buddy and stuff. You know, those two got into it, and
Yeah.
Slugger got involved in that match too. And I think the highlight of that match was when Slugger got thrown on the stage and he was sliding. You know that I guess that high dollar jacket that he bought.
Yeah.
You know, he was sliding up on the stage, almost went through the curtains and stuff. So probably almost took out some equipment. So
Yeah, I'd say Nightmare's got some retribution because I mean, yeah, I don't think Slugger seen it because Slugger, I think, had already got thrown out at that point. Was probably back there licking his wounds and stuff. But
doesn't he get enough wounds as it is? I mean, he's
I mean,
already.
you would think so. I mean, I think if that was me, I'd quit talking all that shit. But I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I've been there, done that, so I know how it is. But
Oh me.
but
Well,
yeah, I know Dee Dee was upset. Boy, I know he scared some kids, and I heard some people saying he needed to get on his medication. So
I'd heard that too. I heard um one of the fans called Slugger a dumbass when he was refereeing that match, and Slugger surprised me though. I mean, he got a little more physical. You know, he wound up cheap shotting Casanova in that match. Um, I guess he felt provoked when Casanova put his hands on him and took him to another corner and all that, was telling him to count or whatever, and then Slugger just double axe handled him. Double axe handled him
but
and
you
stuff.
notice Slugger didn't do it to his face.
I noticed that too. I mean,
You know,
that's a cowardly
I mean,
move
it's
there.
probably a smart move on his point though, because especially after the night he had. But
And then he did a little sneak attack on JC Flash, which you were actually in that match, the very last match, the finals for the golden ticket, which I'll get to that in just a second. But um, he wound up getting a hold of JC, and Dee laid in some cheap shots on him, and then I think Slugger even threw some shots in too and stuff. I guess for that baseball bat incident and stuff a couple months ago, um, and then sure enough, he got booted out. And I wonder how much he's going to pay his lawyers this time for getting thrown out of a match.
right, ain't that it?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you think about everything they've done to JC. They took the belt that he just won, which I mean, you know, Casanova got it. You know, he kind of made things right there.
Hmm.
But I'm sure JC still got some hard feelings about that.
Um,
Mama Flash be the one I'd be worried about if I was Slugger, because Mama Flash ever gets to hold that ass, he's in trouble.
yeah, God have mercy on his poor soul and stuff.
I mean, if
Whenever,
I was Slugger, I'd probably go over and try to give her a hug before the next show or something, and
right,
you know, try to smooth things out. I mean, I don't know how good that'll go for him. He may not want to listen to me on that advice,
it may take a whole bunch of hugs to get that to smooth
but
over at this point. But speaking of that match, so you are now the holder of the golden ticket, and now, to my knowledge, you have challenged your brother for the belt. Don't tell Vince I said belt. You know,
right.
I don't make any money on this
We're gonna have to
podcast.
find you.
I don't want to get fined.
Right.
Yeah, but you've challenged your brother for the belt at Rage in a Cage. Now, that'll be in July. Is that correct?
Yeah, because I actually tried to get Sid to have a match with me in June, and unfortunately, he's pretty much told me he's not going to be there. He's taking the night off.
Can he do that?
I mean, I guess he can. I mean, I talked to the higher ups, and apparently when he had his contract redrawn up or whatever, he's added all kinds of little stipulations into it. So,
Did that not did working in June not work for him, brother?
and I guess not. He's trying to pull that Hulk Hogan, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but like I told him, he can't get away in July. Which
Mm-mm.
they told me that match is happening, but I'm gonna make sure I talk to the higher ups and make sure there ain't no little curveballs they're gonna try to throw me.
Hmm.
And if I get a hold of his little fat buddy with his little belly shirt and his little cowboy hat, looking like the Timu version of Magic Mike or whatever he's trying to go for,
Oh God.
you know, I mean, them women love them dad bods, so I guess that's what he's going for.
That brother, I've got a dad bod myself. That's like that's a that's a dad bod on a whole
I know,
different
right?
level. You know, I just realized something. not to cut this off right just yet, but I have not said this, and we haven't said this either on this episode. But Kyle, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, Kyle. Keep that same energy, bro.
Okay, but anyways, so the big man that your brother has, so is it safe to say that Sexyville now has a population of two?
What I've heard from Sid is what he's told people. You know, of course, he's not talking to me because he knows if he talks to me, then we're probably not gonna have a conversation. But I'm sure everybody's seen the sneak attacks he keeps doing on me.
Mm.
But no, like he said, it's still only Sexyville population one. He says that he calls the guy Big Sexy, but he says that he works for Twinkies. But I mean, I can't tell you if that's true or not. I mean, that's what I've heard. Because he said, like he's told me, he's replaceable because half them people would work for Ding Dongs or Fudge Rounds or Twinkies, whatever he offered them. So,
Oh, Twinkies are nasty. Oh my God, those are
yeah, I'm
nasty.
not a Twinkie guy either. So,
Are you a Hostess or a Little Debbie? Little Debbie.
I'm a Little Debbie guy.
What's your kryptonite?
I like zebra cakes, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Now my daughter, which you met her and stuff and all that, Brianna. She likes zebra cakes, but she really loves them cosmic brownies.
Oh, yeah. My wife is the
Tho-
same way.
those are those krypton. That's my kryptonite. But there used to be these. They were like zebra cakes, but they were like chocolate chip white cakes.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I,
I remember them.
buddy, I would eat them till the cows came
Yeah, I
home.
know, right?
And then back in the day, which I'm really showing my age here, but folks, back in the day, Hostess used to have those little chocolate donuts or power rings, as we would call them, and they'd be in a big old long box and stuff and all that. You could actually get good quantity and stuff. And I remember it was probably five or six, and I think I went through half a box in one sitting. Oh my God. Oh, Twinkies.
I
Lord.
remember I used to pump gas when I was like 15, 16. We had a full service station there at Ideal, and my dad worked there, and he got me the job there. I think
Hmm.
it was during the summertime. And I remember we used to have a guy that would come down there, and he had like a truckload, and I guess it was like Hostess stuff that they couldn't sell anymore or wasn't selling,
Hmm.
and it would be like the pies and just like the individual things. But I remember he'd come down there, and he'd sell them for like quarter a piece.
Really?
Hell, we'd spend $10 and be set
Oh,
for
wow.
days. We used to love when that man come through.
Right. Now, you're talking about the Ideal Station. It was right next to Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that sucker got blown over in that tornado, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it damaged some stuff there, which they're talking about like rebuilding the one that my wife works at now. They're
Really?
actually gonna like I guess move it back and like make it a little bit nicer and all that stuff. But like my wife said, they've been talking about the rebuild for like years now, but a
Hmm.
lot of it's been the property, is getting the property figured out.
Yeah. Um, there was let's see. I don't know if it's still open or not, but it was in Hopkinsville. That it was like a discount bread store or discount bakery store or whatever, and I would find kind of like what you said
Yeah.
with that fellow with the pickup truck, but they actually had full boxes. They'd be a little cheaper. I think they were close to their expiration date, and I guess they were just trying to get a little profit off of it
Right,
and
right,
stuff. And
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
so
they got one of them in Graham. We had one in Dawson for a little bit, but
oh really?
you know, I mean, it wasn't a whole lot, but you could get like deals on candy and stuff like that. But
Sure.
it lasted for a little while. But the woman would always tell us, come to Graham, and we got a whole lot bigger store. And then they got that one in Madisonville now. I think it's over beside Huck's, and they got like stuff that's discounted.
The
I can't tell you what it's called, but
is it the one on Main Street or the one that's kind of like across from Kroger or
yeah, the one like toward Kroger. If you go down that way toward that Huck's or whatever.
okay?
Because I remember me and old lady went there one day, and hell, I couldn't hardly find it. Then I realized it was just in this building. Really ain't no big sign or nothing. It's just one of the things, if you can find it, you find it. Which I
Hmm.
don't even know if it's still there anymore. I haven't been up there. We went
Sure.
that once, and I mean, it has some, like anything, you might find some deals, you might
Sure. I right before you showed up, I was looking up some stuff on. Do you read like wrestling headline stuff or wrestling news stuff that's not Dave Meltzer? Fuck that guy.
not. Yeah.
But yeah, and Wade Keller. Um, I'm gonna probably get sued for saying that, but anyways, do you read anything like any of
Yeah,
that
a lot
stuff?
of times, if I'm on Facebook, a lot of times that's what pops up on my feed is, wrestling related. Like I seen where that Zoe Starks. Did you see the clip of that?
I didn't see the clip, but I've heard about it.
Yeah, well, Kevin had sent me the clip because I'd read it on Facebook, but at the time I didn't see any video, and now, how it is after you see the video, now you see it all over the place. But yeah, I mean, she like come off the top or whatever, and I mean, you just see her knee buckle. And that's what I told him. I was like, yeah, she's gonna be out for a while because I'd say that's probably ACL, MCL, something.
It didn't go upward like Sid Vicious's leg
No,
did,
no,
like or
it
nothing
wasn't
like
that
that.
bad, but you could
Okay.
just tell like it was so bad that like the doctor or whatever you want to call it was out there, and she couldn't walk on it. He actually had to pick her up and carry her.
Jeez.
Like there for a second, I was like, okay, maybe this is a work. But then I watched the video and I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely not a work.
Mm-mm.
Because I mean, you like see her land and you just see like her leg and her knee just buckle, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty serious injury.
I'm going to repeat my previous statement I've said on other episodes. Folks, if you dare call this fake, this is not fake. There's nothing fake about folks putting their bodies on the line, whether it's actually on TV at an independent show or in training. Nothing fake about it.
Yeah, I hate that word more than anything.
So did David Schultz.
Yeah, smacked the shit out of a reporter for that shit, didn't
Fuck you, John Stossel.
he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably get sued for that too. But I'm gonna quote Rocky from Rocky Five. Sue me for what?
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, that's been the big thing. And then I read on ewrestlingnews.com, and I was really scratching my head over this one. So they had their last batch of most recent batch of releases. Braun Strowman being one of them.
Yeah.
Fuck you, WWE. I was gonna get back into watching PLEs and all that other stuff, but then they released that guy again, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Braun, I wouldn't go back. I mean, everything that he's done for him.
Yeah,
I mean, that dude could have been like the next Andre, Big John Studd, any of them,
yeah.
and they just.
But it gets better. They're interested on signing new talent from like overseas, like around
Mm,
Europe and stuff. And I'm thinking, okay, you're getting rid of these people. I can understand restocking the shelves. Okay, I get that. But gosh dang, I mean, even if it was just, for budget, quote unquote budget
right.
cuts, okay, if it's for quote unquote budget cuts, which I don't know the circumstances with why all these folks got released recently, but in the past, it's always been for budget cuts,
Yeah.
but yet they wind up signing, X, Y, and Z and stuff.
Well, and they're going to pay them a shitload of money.
Yeah.
It's not like they're coming in and they're, because I think they said like Braun Strowman's biggest thing is he was too much. Okay, if that was the case, then why didn't you renegotiate his contract?
Well, without actually being present for the meeting, I don't know. It's possible that they may, and you hear this happening is that they may have wanted him to take a cut. He probably didn't want
Yeah, I
to.
mean it's possible.
It's possible. It's possible that it's possible that he was going to have to work more than what he could do because I know he's had some health issues, over the years and stuff too. And I mean, heck, he's actually our age,
Yeah, well,
you
I
know.
mean, I seen a thing where they're like, I guess gonna I guess like re-sign him because I know he's got what like 15% paralyzed in his leg or
I
something.
had read that. Yeah.
But I seen where they were like supposed to sign him to like where he's gonna go around and do like a food thing.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, that's just what I seen on Facebook. I couldn't tell you how true that actually is, but
Right. Yeah. Because I know JC mentioned on the last episode when he first met me, he thought I was a mark. Well, I will say this. and I know JC will hear this. Yes, I was a mark for Braun Strowman, especially back in 2017 when he was starting to become red hot.
Yeah.
Into 2017 he was red hot,
Oh yeah.
and then going to 2018 he was super freaking red hot with all the momentum he had, and Vince pissed the bed on that, and and then after 2019 it kind of seemed like maybe he might be building some momentum again, and then they
Hmm.
pissed the bed on
Well, I
that.
mean, the same way with Bronson Reed, they made him look like they're a monster, and then all of a sudden you just don't see him on TV anymore.
Makes perfect sense.
I mean,
Kind of sounds like a place I used to work for a while back.
yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's the same way in the Indies, man. You don't know how many guys that I've like been to shows with, and just like, man, if I had control of what that guy was doing, he'd be in such a better place than what he's in.
Right.
And I mean, I guess it's all in the eye of the beholder.
This is very true. I
And when me and JC actually started having the conversation about you, and he's like, "Well, I don't know, man." I'm like, "I'm telling you, Josh. I'm like, I'm talking to this man. This man actually has a knowledge of wrestling."
mhm.
And that was my big thing. Just like sitting there talking to you, you and me could actually have a conversation about wrestling, and it wasn't just like as a fan.
And that's all we ever talked about too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of times when we was on break together, that's what we was talking wrestling.
Yep.
And I mean, that's why I was like, man, I think he'd be perfect for the announcer, because that was always like my big thing. Like we always talk about, we want to have like the commentary team, but my thing was like, okay, if I'm gonna have a commentary team, I've got to have somebody that can take the lead, that actually knows what they're talking about, knows the moves and stuff. Because that's the thing, I don't put my neck out for everybody.
Right.
But I mean, I can just tell by talking to you, and that's what I was telling Josh. I'm like, man, I'm spending 12 hours with this guy, 3 days a week. Like we're talking on the phone on the weekends, man. I'm like, I'm telling you, this guy knows this shit. But I mean, and that's the thing about it. Like, man, you have a lot of people, that I've had a lot of people. Oh man, I want to get in business. I want to get in business. I've
Right.
seen guys train one time and they don't fucking come back. You don't hear shit from them. And that's what I tell guys. Like, say you go in there and you start trying to do the wrestling aspect of it. Because we got one trainee that did that. I mean, I have nothing but respect for him, because to me, I'd rather you come in there and like try to do the training, and then after you've done it maybe 2 or 3 times, you realize, okay, man, I can't do this.
Sure.
There's a place for you somewhere else.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I get it. That's your dream. You want to wrestle, but there's just sometimes you're gonna get in there and you're gonna realize I just can't do this at that level.
Right.
And I mean, I would rather you go out there and try it than be like, well, I wanted to do it, but I just never tried it. I mean, that's like I done an MMA fight one time. I love watching UFC.
Mm.
And I had a guy, which honestly I thought he was full of shit. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't think it would come to fruition.
Sure.
And he's like, "Well, I got you an MMA fight." I'm like, "Well, I always want to do it. I'm gonna fucking do it." And of course, I'm getting fucking shit from everybody. Well, this ain't fake shit. This ain't wrestling.
Oh damn.
And I'm like, dude, I was like, do you not realize that a lot of that shit that we learn can actually fucking hurt you?
Yeah.
You know? And I remember I done an MMA fight, and the hardest thing for me was trying to punch a guy in the face that had never done anything to me.
Yeah.
But after the guy hit me like 2 or 3 times, I didn't have no problem punching that motherfucker in the face. Because I'm sitting there like trying to think of shit, get mad and stuff, so I can go out here and be aggressive. And because they actually offered me another fight, and like I told them, because I didn't like do any training really. This was just what I've watched, what I've learned from wrestling and stuff. But I ended up choking the guy out in the first round.
Really?
Yeah,
Rear naked choke?
yeah, rear naked choke. And of
Damn.
course, everybody's like, "Well, damn, we figured you'd get your ass whooped." I was like, "That's the thing about it, guys. Like professional wrestling, you have to be fucking tough."
Yeah.
I mean, all these people say, "Oh, it's fake." It's not fake. It might be choreographed, but every fucking bump that I take, I feel that shit.
Yeah.
And there's been times the next fucking day, I can't really get out of the damn bed, and it's like, fuck, why did I do that stupid shit? But then I go back and do it
Go
again the
back and
next
do it
weekend.
again. That's because we have a passion for it. We love it.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, like you got them adrenaline junkies that like want to skydive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way with wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other feeling that I've ever gotten. Like the MMA, it was cool. I did it. I liked it, but it was just like, oh man, I love pro wrestling.
Yeah. Well, when you think of what Brock Lesnar accomplished when he went to MMA, and for the people that hate on Brock, he actually had a pretty decent career in MMA, and he got a lot of flack from people because they wanted to say, well, this ain't fake. I'm gonna school
Yeah,
this guy. I mean, that very first fight, even though with Frank Mir, even though he lost it, he
yeah, he was
he
destroying
he
Frank.
he was destroying Frank. Mr. Mir, if you happen to hear this, no disrespect, but I mean, the only thing that saved you was you were more knowledgeable and more
Yeah, I mean that
experienced.
fucking leg lock. That was the only thing that saved his ass because
Yeah,
he was getting his face smashed.
yeah, because had he not locked that in, for some reason I thought he put him in a choke, but you're right. But yeah, it was a leg lock. But had had that not been locked in, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it
Well, I mean, their second fight that they had. I mean, Mir
now
didn't get that leg lock this time.
no, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Frank had for that fight. I think him and I guess some guys that he trained with. I think they were making some funny videos about Brock or whatever,
Yeah.
and then
Oh
Brock,
yeah, because Brock stomped that ass and hit him a couple extra times when he knew it was over.
yeah, and I think Brock went over and said something to him.
He did.
It wasn't like good fight. It was
Yeah,
like
fuck you,
like
buddy.
fuck you, run
Yeah.
your mouth or whatever.
If I'd have been Mir, I don't think I'd have signed up for a second fight. I mean, no disrespect to Mir. I mean, dude's a legend in the business as
Right.
far as MMA, but like if somebody whoops my ass like that, and I know I just barely got out of it, I don't think I'm gonna sign another fight with him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, then he had, it was his third fight. He fought Randy Couture and wound up beating him for the
Yeah.
championship, and
Well, I mean, and a lot of people forget, the background that Brock come from.
exactly,
It wasn't just that he was a professional wrestler. I mean, this dude was like what 3 or 4 time college
yeah,
wrestling champion.
something like that. Yeah.
And I mean, if you know anything about like college wrestling, those are some of the meanest motherfuckers you're gonna meet, especially like their training.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, their training is ridiculous.
So I tried amateur wrestling back when I was in high school, which of course, I was 5'10", about 135 pounds. I made scrawny people look like bodybuilders. And I got my ass handed to me. I only had 2 matches, but I wound up getting injured. And the doctor had said, I probably need to stop.
Right.
And well, anyways, I wound up not going back. Well, then I started working out.
Right.
But the training regiment, like you said, it was brutal. And cardio was a big thing.
Oh yeah.
Calisthenics was another big thing. And then, of course, after we did all the calisthenics, then we wound up having matches, and
Yeah. I mean,
or having a
it's
match.
rough,
It is
man.
rough. However, it's funny because there was this guy that was on the team. He was a little bit, he was strong. He was freaking strong as a bull, but because he worked out regularly. But he was a short little bugger. And God, he freaking threw me around like crazy and stuff and all that. I did pin him a couple times, and I could actually, if I could get the cradle locked in, he was done.
Right.
And I did cradle him a couple times. Well, my 2 matches I had, I wound up trying to cradle too soon, and of course, going against experienced wrestlers and stuff
Oh
and all
yeah.
that, I was fucked. And they were stronger than me too. Well, I thought, man, I really don't want to get thrown around anymore. I'm
Yeah.
tired of being out muscled. So that's when I really start.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
actually after that. That's when I started working out and stuff and all that. Kind of wished I would have had more knowledge of like compound lifts, powerlifting and stuff back then, because I think that might have helped
Oh
me.
yeah. The
And I,
shit that you know now,
yeah,
if you'd had it back in the day.
it would have been a whole different story.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, but I'm not that scrawny 5'10",
Right.
135
Right.
pounder anymore either. So, um, yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that Brock had that diverticulitis because I mean, had he not had that, I mean, I think he would have went on to have had
Oh
a
yeah. I
longer
mean,
career.
yeah. I mean, he lost to Alistair Overeem and he lost to Velasquez, but I mean, Alistair Overeem, motherfucker, eats horse meat.
Mm-hmm.
And the dude's like a prodigy of like striking. You know, I mean that dude is nasty with his strikes.
Mm-hmm.
When you had an on point Alistair Overeem, dude was a killer.
Yeah.
The same way with Velasquez. I mean, ragdolled fucking Lesnar. That tells you how strong that fucking dude is. Anybody that can ragdoll Lesnar like that is a scary individual.
That's true, but you got to think too. Um, you know, if you watch them fight, something was off with Brock.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
definitely
you could tell
tell.
he was off. You know,
I
had he,
think that's when the stuff had really first started.
yeah. Well, actually, it was before the Velasquez fight because he had, I think he took about a year off because he I think he had to have emergency
Yeah, because then they
surgery.
like cut so much of his intestines off
Yeah.
or out or
Mm-hmm.
something, and I mean, and he come back, you know. And I
Yeah.
mean, that's like Velasquez. You seen that shit where he's in the pen, right?
Yeah.
And that's crazy, man. You would think, like, I get that he didn't go about doing it the right way, but anybody that's a dad, if that happened to your daughter or son, you would have done the same fucking thing.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that shit should have been in his favor
Yep.
because to me, he took motherfucker out that didn't need to be here no more.
Yep.
He just did what a lot of us, you know, probably wouldn't have done.
Right.
You know, like I said, he may not have done it the right way, but that's kind of the fucked up thing about the law.
Yeah.
You know, it's like anything. There's exceptions to every rule.
Yeah, and you know, me being a former law dog myself, I'm going to try to word this as carefully as I possibly can.
Right, right.
I'm just going to say the system fails us at times.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
I will say the system failed Cain Velasquez big time.
Yeah.
And I was completely on his side because like you said, I'm a dad too,
Yep.
you know. Um because honestly, nowadays you do something, you get a slap on the wrist.
Oh yeah.
Now if you got drug charges, you're going away for a
Well,
long
that's what I'm
time.
saying. You get caught with some meth, you're gonna go to jail for life. But you do something to a kid, and you fucking out 5-10 years.
Or I hate to say this, but if you're a first time offender, they'll offer you probation.
Yeah.
You know, and all
Right.
that crap.
Exactly.
Damn, how the hell did we wind up on this topic?
I think it's this fucking course, man.
Damn, I'm on my third one. Shit. Sorry, folks.
He's gonna be hammered before this podcast's over.
Damn, I'm already feeling kind of. I'm not like that, but I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah.
But I forgot to mention something. Justin, I told you this, but I haven't said it on the podcast. But I remember watching from the back on the monitor, and I saw you take the straps down after you were given the golden ticket.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, "Holy shit! He just went Jerry Lawler."
And that's what I was thinking at that moment. I'm like, I'm about to do my fucking inner Jerry Lawler right here, because that was also one of Dad's favorites. Like, you know, I grew up watching USWA.
Yeah,
I remember either every Saturday or every Sunday when everybody else was watching the cartoons, we was sitting there with Dad watching USWA.
mm-hmm.
I remember when fucking Sid Vicious done the Christmas tree shit. Yeah, they had Sid Vicious dressed up like a fucking Christmas tree. I think it was like around Christmas or something.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Now, see, I knew Kane was the quote unquote Christmas creature.
Well, it might have been Kane, then I may have just got them mixed up then.
But he did that for Smoky Mountain, though.
Okay.
But it wouldn't surprise me, though. Now, I know Sid, you know, God rest his soul, the master and the ruler of the world, always will be. I remember when he did when he was Lord Humongous.
Yeah, I remember that one too.
And I ain't gonna lie, I did download that music, you know, his interest music, which for those of you that don't know, it was War Machine by Kiss. And Roxo, if you hear this, that's a damn good song. So
Roxo loves Taylor Swift. Don't let him fucking lie.
Oh Lord,
that is Roxo's favorite singer. If you're listening to Roxo, go ahead and tell the world.
Roxo, if you do listen to this, I think the world of you, buddy. So, anyways, but yeah, no, well, I mean, that would make sense though if they did have Sid dress up.
I'm pretty sure it was Sid. I mean, I could be mistaken. You know, like I tell my lady, that's not very often, but she kind of laughed about it like you did. But
oh, Miss Betty, I wish you could have been here for this episode.
I tried to get her to come, but I don't know about that damn woman. That's probably a good thing she's asleep, or she'd probably be whooping my ass when I got home.
I will say this, brother. You got you a good woman.
Oh
You got you
yeah,
a good one.
and it's like something like JC said in his podcast. Without her, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of times, I remember going to wrestling like on our anniversary. You talking about she fucking mad? I fucked up. I still went and wrestled, but I fucked up. And that's what she's like. Really, really, Derek? You gonna go wrestle on our fucking anniversary? And when I took the book and I was like, man, that date looks familiar.
Oh shit! Oh man!
I probably just busted myself out because I don't think I told the wife that one, but she's like, you could wrestle any other fucking time except for that time. And I was like, all right, it'll be a date. Nah, that didn't go over very well.
Oh shit!
I'm
man.
lucky I've still been with her after that one.
Damn.
Because after that one, she told me, she said, no more on our anniversary. I said, you got it, boss. Because I faced the wrath of that one when I got home that night.
And that was how long ago?
It was 4 or 5 years ago.
Holy shit, man! Now, how long have y'all been together? Like
we've been
married?
together 15 years.
15 years. Wow.
Been married 12, dated for 3, and then, which I always tease her about this because she was always telling me, when you gonna put a ring on it? When you gonna put a ring on it? And I'd always tell her, like, well, why I gotta put a ring on it? Show you how much I love you. And all that. She's like, well, that's why you need to put a ring on it, because you love me. So, I messed with her, and finally, I did ask her to marry me. And I remember I said, yeah, I was kind of coerced into this one. And she's like, you better stop.
Oh shit! I'm surprised she didn't beat your ass for that, man.
That's what I'm saying. I got a good woman, she handles the concessions, and
yeah,
I know and that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like, I don't get a lot of weekends off. I really don't. Like, the only Saturday I normally get off is the day of the shows.
Yeah.
And then I'm usually there from 1 until 10, 11 o'clock that night.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way with the old lady. So, and like a lot of times when I get home through the week, because she's only off on the weekends, so that day of wrestling, that's pretty much her day off.
Mm.
And then through the week, I normally go in at like 11. I don't get off till 6. So by the time I drive home, it's usually 6:30. You might as well say. Well, she got to be up 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So she's going to bed 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I get like 2 hours with her.
You're right.
And everybody's always like, well, y'all live together. It's like, yeah, but it's one of them things when you actually like enjoy your wife's company.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she's my best friend. I have other best friends. You're one of them, Josh, and so many other guys. But my wife is one of them people I can be myself around. I don't have to try to be anybody different.
Yeah. And you got you a good one when you can be yourself.
Oh yeah, and I mean, and like how I am now is how I always am.
Yeah.
Always cracking jokes, or and that's how my dad was. I mean, I'm just like my dad. Like I said, sexier, but but he was the same way. I mean, I remember there would be times when I was still playing a bad guy, and like it'd be a week before the show, I gotta get in heel mode.
Mm-hmm.
So if nobody wasn't there, Dad was getting it, because I'd fuck with him, And this is gonna sound mean on the podcast, but I never meant nothing by it. He'd be like, "All right, well, talk some shit to me, Derek." And I start talking shit to him. I tell him, "Well, you keep running your damn mouth. I go over and unplug that damn oxygen machine, boy." And me and Dad used to always talk about, it's like, hope somebody don't ever come up to the house and hear that conversation. Because I remember we took him to the doctor one day. And you know how you go to the doctor, especially like when somebody has a disability or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
With him being on oxygen. First question was, well, are you being abused at home? And that's what me and Dad would always say. Like, if they ever walk up and they hear me tell you that and we're just fucking around, I was like, I'm going to jail. But he used to get pissed off at the doctors when they'd ask him that. He's like, well, fuck no, they ain't abusing me. But that's what me and him always talk about. If somebody ever comes up to the house, because I remember when hospice was coming up, I had one of the nurses piss me off one day.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a couple of dogs, and the youngest dog I had, She loved my dad.
Okay.
You know, he pretty much, when I was at work, you know, he was there with her. She'd always like sit in his lap, or you know, she's very protective of him.
Sure.
So we had a hospice nurse coming in, and it was like supposed to be giving him sponge baths, and because it just got so hard where I couldn't hardly get him in the shower because he just had trouble breathing, or you know, and you've got that cord, and that cord only stretches so far.
Right.
And it was easier for him to take a shower in the bedroom because it had like a handle and stuff, which I ended up like I think buying a handle and like mounting it to give him something to shower. But it just got to that point where he just couldn't hardly get up anymore, and
Yeah.
you know, bend his knees and stuff to get in the shower. So I remember this nurse comes and she's like, she knocks on the door. Well, I wasn't expecting anybody that day. So I open the door and she goes in there and she's like, well, I'm going to give him a sponge bath. I was like, that's fine. My dog goes right in there with her and is just watching her like a hawk. I mean, not barking, not carrying on, not doing anything stupid because, you know, I don't teach them to do that shit. I mean, dogs going to bark. They're going to do it. That's their nature.
Right.
But she was never aggressive, this woman. But that woman's like, well, I was calling your dad's phone. I'm like, and I've told you to call my phone. And all that shit. So next thing I know, like 30 minutes after she leaves, I get a fucking call from hospice.
Okay.
And they're like, well, you know, we're pet friendly and stuff, but the lady said that your dog was barking at her and this and was very protective of your dad. And all this shit. So I'm thinking, you're going to come into my house when I've told this woman to call my phone. You know, I've told her this several times now. This isn't the first time I've had this problem with this lady. You know, and I'm thinking, think you're going to call the fucking principal on me and get me in trouble or something? So, like, she called, like, I don't know, a couple days later. And she's like, well, I'm going to come out here and give a sponge bath. I was like, nah, I don't fucking need you out here. I was like, you just stay home. I can give him a sponge bath. Because I'd worked at Atwood before, and I'd worked with individuals like that. So I didn't have a problem with it because I remember Dad would always be like, I don't want you to have to do this. I hate that you got to do it. I was like, Dad, I used to do it for grown men that had mental disabilities that I did not know a fucking thing about. Right. I said, so I'm pretty sure I can give you a sponge bath.
Sure.
I mean, is it something I wanted to do? Well, no, nobody wants to do that.
Right.
But I knew that he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I told that bitch not to come back. Well, it just pissed me off, like, you know, and that's what I told her because when they did come, I would put them up.
Right.
That way they weren't barking or they feel threatened. But I mean, that's what I'm saying. My dog never tried to bite her, never showed any aggression toward her, just watched her. I mean, you're in my fucking house, and then you're gonna call your fucking boss like, what the fuck's your boss gonna do?
And you hit, you know, and you mentioned just a second ago, you told her to call your phone,
Yeah.
not your dad's phone. Okay, you're the one that can put the dogs away and shit like that. You know, your dad can't at this time, at this point in his life.
Right, exactly.
What kind of dog was this?
It was a pit, and that's probably what it was. That, you know, pits get bad.
Don't you know that's illegal, man?
I know, right? I guess it's a good thing we ain't in UK or nothing, huh? But I mean, like, I could see if my dog was like nipping at her or something, then I would have completely understood.
Sure.
But that was not the case.
But
I mean, she's watching you. You're a stranger in my house. This is like the second, maybe third time you've been to my house. This woman doesn't know you. All, you know, all my dog sees is you're going in here to mess with my dad.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times when she's giving him a sponge bath, I sit in the living room.
Sure.
You know, and I mean, and I hated to be like that, but I mean, even Dad was like, "You just tell that bitch not to come back."
Damn. Well, God, you still have this dog, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's my baby.
And you said all she did was just sit and watch.
Yeah, I mean, literally sit and watch. I mean,
so you haven't had a chance to meet this dog because my soon-to-be ex-wife took him. Oh, man. Folks, I have a German Shepherd. It actually is my soon-to-be ex-wife's dog, but for some reason that dog has clung to my side since the first day she came here. Thankfully, she's not growling and barking because she was growling and barking at Justin Stiles whenever he first came
Right.
into the house. So I had to put her in a kennel, which I had to kennel her whenever Ben and Trevor came a couple months ago when they were here at my house. But I had a Jack Russell Beagle mix, or Jacoby as people call him, named Samson, and he would do the same thing like you had just said. Uh, well, he was a lot more vocal. He liked to growl and bark and stuff,
Right.
but he never bit anybody.
Yeah.
When my 4-year-old was born, um, I take that back. This was probably about 2 or 3 months after she was born. The woman that I still call my stepmom to this day, she came to the house and she got to meet Genevieve.
Right.
Well, Samson, he was about a year at this time. She was sitting on the section back when I had, what you're sitting on is part of the sectional, and
Right.
then the other part is in the living room. But when it was a full sectional, she was sitting on the sectional holding the baby. He got on the ottoman, like, I don't know, maybe a foot away from her and stuff. He just sat there and just watched her, just sat and watched. And there's nothing wrong with the dog being
No.
protective in that aspect,
Yeah. Exactly.
but and I know pit bulls get a bad reputation. Now, will I ever own one? Probably not. I've had interactions with really good pit bulls that were just big babies,
Yeah.
but they were protective.
Oh yeah.
They'll um I've seen of course you read the stories,
Oh yeah.
you hear the stories, of these pit bulls that rip people to shreds and stuff, but not all pit bulls are bad. It just goes back to their owner.
I mean, it's like people.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah. Um, just depends on how they're raised, pretty
I
much.
mean, and that's what I'm saying. I've never raised her to like be aggressive. I don't like rough play with my dogs. She loves fucking squeak toys.
I hate squeak toys, but go ahead.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if I ever felt like my dog was aggressive like that,
Mhm.
I would probably have her put down.
Sure.
Now, my pitch, does she like other dogs that she doesn't know? No, but that's a territory thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but when I take my dog out, she's on a leash,
Sure.
so that is to prevent anything like that from happening. I would never take her to a dog park.
Mhm.
Just because dog parks are bad places. I see all kinds of videos on Facebook where like trainees are saying that is the worst place to take a dog.
So, I've been to the one in Paducah, which most dog parks they have one for small dogs, one
Right.
one for big dogs. I would never take Ginger to a big dog park. Um, she's very skittish and nervous around other dogs, and she's a 63 pound dog.
Right.
Now, Samson, I did, that was a treat, I tell you. Um, he went in there, he saw all them people. Went in there, started, started, started howling, started barking and
Right.
stuff and all that. There was this big gazebo and stuff where people can sit around. He went into the dead center of this gazebo with all these people standing around, started howling some more. They just thought that was the most adorable thing. And but it was so annoying hearing him howl and all that. But then he'd hear on the other side where the big dog park was, and there was a lot of skirmishes, we'll call them, that was
Yeah.
going on. And of course, he got all riled up and everything, was howling and barking all the way towards
Right.
that way
Right.
too and stuff. But yeah, I definitely couldn't. I couldn't take Ginger to a big dog park because you never know. Because you that one time I went, God, I heard at least a couple of dog owners that was trying to pull their dog off another dog
And
and
that's what
all.
I'm saying. That's why I see like a lot of them videos on the, and that's what the dog trainers say. Like, do not take your dog to a dog park. It's like the worst place to honestly take your dog because he's like something's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, just because your dog's well trained doesn't mean that somebody's not gonna have their dog off the leash, you know, or this or that. And I mean, I get that. You have to be aware of your surroundings.
Right.
I know I'm not gonna take my dogs to the fucking dog park
Sure.
because they're gonna do something stupid.
Right.
It's not that they're bad dogs. It's just like it's just territory, you know. Dogs are territorial.
Yeah.
Most dogs are. If a fucking dog they don't know come in their yard, it's probably not going to be good.
Yeah.
I mean, it don't matter if it's pit bull. It don't matter if it's fucking chihuahua. My neighbor's got like 2 chihuahuas. Every time I walk out, them motherfuckers barking at me like crazy.
I hate them dogs. And no offense to people that have chihuahuas, but those little ankle biters, I swear, they're for like a small three or 4 pound dog or however much they
Yeah, little
weigh, they're
ankle
freaking
biting
vicious.
motherfuckers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
little
And I mean,
bastards.
I've been over at lady's house one time, you know, and them dogs were skittish at me. I mean, they barked at me and stuff, but you know, I never took it as like, oh, these fucking dogs are aggressive, you know.
Right.
You know, and that's where a lot of people just, you know, if I feel like my dog was gonna be aggressive towards you, I'm gonna go put him in a kennel or I'm gonna go put him up. Because I'm not gonna put you in that situation.
Sure. Um, let me think. My dad had bird dogs, and for the most part, good animals. Um, although you take them to an open field and they're not in their dog pen and stuff, they're gonna bolt,
Oh yeah, of
take
course.
off and
So man,
stuff. I think he had one. He had one named Ace. I couldn't tell you how many times he'd go to the back door, open it up. Ace, get in that house and shut up.
yeah.
Golly.
Well, I mean, that's like the pit I had before her because she's actually like the granddaughter of the one that I had.
Hmm.
And I mean, he was like a 70, 80 pound pit bull. And but it was the same thing, man. Like he loved people. Like if he seen somebody walking down the road, I don't know how many times I'd get on his ass back. I'd have him outside or something, and I turn around, somebody walking down the road, he running over, tail wagging, trying to jump on him
Sure.
and love on him. You know, some people they was all right with it. Some people, you know, because he was a pit bull. But now, if it's another dog, y'all, you better believe he's probably gonna fucking try something.
Hmm.
But I mean, like I said, that's just a territory thing.
Speaking of territories, well, if you had the opportunity, and I asked JC this, which I pretty much knew the answer, but I wanted him to give it and
Yeah.
explain it and stuff. But if you were wrestling in the territory days, what territory would you like to go to? And you can give it, you can tell why and stuff.
It would have probably been the USWA
Okay.
just because that's what I grew up watching. Like I was a huge PG-13 fan. Me and my brother both was. I loved Wolfie D, Jamie Dundee. You know, to me, because they were the Hardy Boys before the Hardy Boys become the Hardy Boys.
Yeah.
And I remember actually there was a show that me and JC had worked each other at for Mike Porter, and Wolfie D was there. I think Wolfie D was there. Um, Samuel Shaw or Dexter Loomis, whatever you want to call him, was there. Crimson off TNA. I don't know if you know who that
Oh, I
is.
remember him.
Uh,
He's actually an Austin P alumni like myself.
oh,
So
okay.
yeah.
Jax Dane, you know, which I think he passed. He was in NWA and TNA. And there was, I think Brian Christopher was there that night. I got a funny story about that in a minute.
Okay.
But me and JC, we worked each other, and you know, at this point, me and JC had worked each other so much that we didn't have to like really call nothing. You know, we knew what the other one could do. He was a great baby. I was a great heel, so we could play off each other. So I remember we went out there. We had a hell of a match. We killed it. I remember Wolfie D walks over there, and he's like, "Guys, good match. Keep doing what y'all are doing." You know, and to me, that was like, "Fuck, man, this is one of my hometown, you know, heroes that just has told me, hey, I'm doing a good job." And to me, that was like everything I'm done. You know, everything I've been doing, putting my body on the line, busting my ass. You know, making these road trips and you know going these places and not making shit. You know, that was just the realization that like, okay, you know, I'm doing something right.
Right.
But Mike Porter, he's passed away now. Which I mean, he wasn't a bad guy. You know, I heard a lot of weird stories about him. But you know, you hear a lot of stories about a lot of people.
Sure.
But I remember Brian Christopher was back there, and we're bullshitting with Brian Christopher or whatever because you know not to talk bad about Brian Christopher, but it depended on what Brian Christopher you got.
Okay.
You know, it depended on if he was sober, if he was on you know whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the promoter come back there, Mike come back there, and we were just like sitting there just bullshit, and he's like, "Yeah, them hot dogs just go right down your throat or something." And Brian Christopher looked at me, and I looked at him, and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with this man? Because I was hearing Josh, talking about like the Evansville days. I went up to Evansville a few times. It just wasn't my scene at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because it seemed like every time I was up there, just some shady shit would happen. I won't say the two guys involved, but I remember a white guy and a black guy got into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, supposedly the N word was said
Oh shit.
over the phone. I wasn't there. I don't know. All I know is the after effects of what happened,
Mm-hmm.
which the guy says he didn't say it. The other guy swears up and down he did say it. Whatever. But I remember I was outside smoking, and so I see the black guy come out, the white guy. I'm over talking to him, asking how he's doing, and all that stuff. And that's before I realized that all this stuff had happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because this apparently had happened like a week or two before, and they happened to be scheduled on the same show.
Mm.
So, all of a sudden, I'm out there talking to this guy, and then I see the other guy coming out. Well, I see him reach in his pocket, pull something out. Well, it's a fucking 9mm,
Oh shit.
and he's like, "Call me the N word now, motherfucker. Call me the N word now," as he's pointing this fucking 9mm at this guy. And I'm
Mm.
like, "Oh, fuck. Like, I'm fixing to get fucking shot."
Right.
So, the guy's like, "Put the fucking gun down, man. We'll fucking handle this like men. Put the fucking gun down. We'll handle it like men." So finally, that guy's wife comes out, or girlfriend, whatever she was, and tells him, "It's like, yo, just put the gun down. Just put the gun down." Well, he puts the gun down. They start fighting, and I mean, it's two big old hoss cats fighting. And by the end of that night, I was thinking there's gonna be a fucking race war, or race riot, or something.
Hmm.
Because they said that this guy had called a bunch of his people, and like right as I'm about to leave, you see like 4 or 5 black guys show up. Luckily this guy had already left and shit. And then I remember like I went to another show up in Evansville, and I come back there and I go to the bathroom and take a leak, and somebody's snorting cocaine off the bathroom sink.
Oh jeez.
And they literally asked me, "You want some cocaine?" Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
Damn.
I'm like, I'm just here to take a piss.
Sure.
So I walk back out of the bathroom. I don't say shit to nobody because it just, none of your business, man. What happens in the wrestling locker room, or the bathroom, that,
Yeah.
and it was shortly after that. It's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going back to Evansville for a while.
Yeah.
It just wasn't my scene. But I mean, the times that JC was talking about, I reckon a bunch of that stuff had kind of changed.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I done a lot of my stuff more around Kentucky and probably like Illinois and stuff is where I was mostly going. So like me and him honed our craft in like different places.
Yeah.
Which when I was in Evansville, I worked for the same guy you talked about, Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Remember I got to work with Rob Conway in a battle royal one time. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
People be like, "Oh, it's a battle royal." Yeah, but still, I actually got to work him in the battle royal.
Right.
Because I remember like all this, how it is about royal, everything's fucking going on. Well, I see Rob Conway standing there, and I'm just standing there. It's like, okay, should I hit him?
Right.
I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna hit him. And I hit him. He starts selling for me. Like, okay, cool. We worked a little bit. Probably one of the coolest motherfuckers I ever met, man.
Did he teach you the Conway, as he liked to call it?
No, but I mean, he was very laid back, and I mean, he was actually giving like all of us young guys like, advice. Because I know, like JC said, when he first come, that's when he would just been released from WWE, and you got a lot of guys like that are kind of mad that they're not making that big money. Now they're back on the indies, which I get it. I mean, I'd probably be the same way.
Well, not to cut you off there, but honestly, I can understand that. But look at Matt Cardona. Look at what he's accomplished since he left. I used to call it the Empire, back in
Yeah.
the day. I mean, look what that man has accomplished since he,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
got released. I mean, man, he has just, been killing it on the indie scene.
Oh
But
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think Cardona's got to that stage, like it's like because a lot of these guys, I think that they feel like they gotta have AEW, or they gotta have WWE, or they gotta have TNA. I mean, Matt's making money,
yeah,
and I mean the dude's popular. I mean, you're seeing him like every big indie show almost everywhere.
Well, and it's crazy. I mean, he was very popular even in WWE.
Well, and they said that's the reason that they pretty much like buried him is because he was getting over more than the guys they were trying to put over.
Yeah, but I mean,
But how's that your fault? If they give you a gimmick like look at Gold Dust,
yeah,
they give you a gimmick like Gold Dust, and you go out there and kill it like that. How's that your fault?
right.
That'd have been like Perry Saturn if he could have really got that mop over. Did he get it over? Yeah, he got it over.
Hmm.
But I mean, could you imagine if he really, really got that gimmick over?
Uh,
Then what? Then what are they gonna do as punishment? This motherfucker's got a mop over. How you gonna punish this guy?
well, they bury him in some capacity, but I mean, but like you said, they buried, we'll say, Zack Ryder, and God, did Vince bury that guy time and time and time again. But the sad part is, the fans didn't lose interest in him. I
Right.
mean, they did the same thing to Daniel Bryan. Vince tried to bury him because he wasn't a 6'4", 270-pound bodybuilder, you know, but they had that connection. But and I got to say, props to Matt Cardona back when he was doing the online
Yeah.
heavyweight champion thing and stuff. He had his
Right.
own belt and stuff. I mean, kudos to him. I mean, because they're supposed to be labeled independent contractors, even though I got to agree with Jesse Ventura. They're not independent contractors because they
Right.
get bossed around, ordered around and
Yeah.
stuff. But he did what he needed to do to market himself, and by God, it worked.
I mean, Drew McIntyre did the same thing before he come back to WWE. He had to go bust his ass on the indies. He got bigger.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's my thing, man. Like, take somebody like Samoa Joe. You look at him. Vince would have never done shit with him. Vince never really did.
No,
I mean, look at the career he had at TNA. Look at the career he's got in AEW now. I mean, and he doesn't fit the stereotype. But that's what I don't understand. If you go back to like the '80s and the '90s, it was your character. It was how you worked in the ring. It wasn't if you had a fucking 6 pack and you was 6'6".
yeah,
To me, you would think that you would want that guy that looks average to these kids. Like, okay, I don't have to be 6'8" to be a wrestler. That's what I don't understand. Like, I get, you're on TV, you want this certain look, but why would you not give a guy like Samoa Joe a shot if the crowd's into it? Same way with Zack Ryder. You tried to bury him and he fucking killed it.
hmm
And then you're like, oh, well, fuck it, we'll just let him go. Okay, why would you do that? You just killed your crowd on that, man. That dude, I mean, that's like carrying cross right now.
Oh man, I don't even know where to go on that one. But
Well, I mean, now they're saying he's like the number one merchandise seller because he cut that like pipe bomb like CM Punk.
kudos to him. I mean, I watched that and I was like, shit. I was like, this is our newest pipe bomb here. And
Let me run it back.
yeah, go right ahead. All right, folks, I'm gonna hit the pause button. Right. All right, folks, we are back. I apologize for that. That's what happens when you drink the beer; it kind of goes through you pretty quickly.
Yes,
So,
it does.
all right. But anyways, you were saying, go ahead.
What was I saying?
Let's see. We were talking about how we're talking about Matt Cardona
Oh
getting
yeah,
himself
yeah,
over.
yeah.
Talked about Samoa Joe and Drew McIntyre. Well, actually, when he was out of the Empire, he was Drew Galloway, but yeah, I mean they. I'll even throw this name, Matt Bloom, and for those of you that don't know, that's
Yep.
he was known as Albert A Train, Lord Tensai. And then if you followed his career in Japan, New Japan, that is, he was known as Giant Bernard. He went and made a name for himself in Japan for a good number of years, and then the Empire brought him back. And then, of course, they, you know, shit the bed on that, but shocker.
WWE seems to do that a lot. Drop the ball with a lot of these guys.
Well, that's how I felt when they went with Braun Strowman back in 2018, 2019. I mean, they dropped the ball with that guy, and I was like, damn, I'm like, hell, I mean, I get more enjoyment out of watching New Japan Pro Wrestling reruns and stuff and all that. So I was like, fuck WWE at that point. But
I mean, honestly, I don't even. Most of the time, like I watch like the highlights of it. I don't even like actually watch the show anymore.
I'll tell you this: I watched day one of WrestleMania. Didn't bother watching day two because I had a feeling it was going to be a disappointment. Now,
Yeah.
I did like day one. I was really surprised though with that tag team championship match between the War Raiders and New Day. That just didn't really seem like the crowd was really into it. Now they did seem into Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. They were really into that match. They seemed to be into obviously the Punk, Roman Reigns, and
That was the
Seth
main
Rollins.
match I wanted to see was that triple threat.
What I'll give you my take in a second, but I want to hear what was your reaction when you saw that happen?
I liked it. I thought the pedigree spot was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I popped for that one. I
Okay.
mean, I'm not like a huge CM Punk fan. Uh, I mean, I thought the match was good. I mean, I guess with WrestleMania, I expected a little bit more.
Yeah, the WrestleMania shows nowadays are not like they were back in the Attitude Era or even in the Golden Era. Golden Era fans were popping from start to finish.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned AEW earlier about like Joe going to AEW, so you're gonna laugh at it. Well, actually, let me backtrack. So that triple threat match, I had a feeling there was going to be a Heyman turn. I wasn't expecting a double Heyman turn.
Yeah.
That one really surprised me. Um, and then that really added some shock value. But I'd have to say the match that for that night that stole the show would have to have been Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. I thought that was a damn good match,
Yeah.
and yeah, I got to say that one was match of the
Well, I
night.
mean, and everybody probably thought Charlotte was going to win,
I'll even raise my hand to that. I thought that was going to happen too. I was really
and I
shocked.
and I was honestly afraid that that's what they were going to do.
Not to take away from Charlotte Flair. I mean, she's a damn good wrestler,
Oh yeah, yeah, but
but we don't need her doing the same thing her father did and have the world championship, 16 times. Well, honestly, I'm not a big fan of John Cena having it for 17 times.
no,
I
I mean
mean,
I'm not either.
but I mean, she can accomplish so much. Well, I mean, she's already accomplished so much as it is right now. I'll never forget whenever she won back then. It was the Divas Championship in 2015 when she beat Nikki Bella. I was in Madisonville at my buddy James's house. It was me, him, and our buddy Neil, and we were really, really hoping because we just got tired of seeing Nikki Bella as the champ. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
she's hot. Don't get me wrong. I love seeing her entrance. I used to tell my buddy James all the time, James, can you rewind her entrance again so we can see that again? And
Right.
I'd get the same response every time. No. I was like, damn it, James. But got tired of seeing her as the damn champ. I never thought she should have beat AJ Lee, but that's another story, for another time. But when Charlotte Flair won, I mean, buddy, we popped. I mean, big time in that house we were at. I mean, we were hooting and hollering, yelling, cheering and
Right.
stuff. We were so happy, and I mean, she's accomplished a lot in her career, and but it was time for somebody else, and that's why I was glad Tiffany, won that match. So, um, I've been watching a little bit of kind of slowly getting back into AEW, but it's because of this is going to be really funny. Timeless Tony Storm.
Oh god, her promos, man, are killing me.
They so I had
Tony Storm comes for everybody. I remember watching the Facebook video and I'm like, what the fuck am I watching here? I thought I was watching AEW. I might have stumbled onto the wrong site.
oh my gosh,
But
man.
yeah, she's fucking killing it.
Yeah. And another one. WWE dropped the bomb on her. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, was she a badass rocker chick? Yes, absolutely. But she kind of reminded me of Matt Hardy when he started Broken Matt Hardy. Same
Yeah.
thing with what she's doing, Timeless Tony Storm, but she's freaking killing it. And yeah, I watched. The reason I even started looking her up on YouTube was because of you mentioned those videos. I'd seen them on Facebook and TikTok, and um, the stuff she would say, I was like, oh geez. And then she'd say, tell the fans to get their minds out of the gutter and all that.
Yeah.
And I think my favorite one was I think her and Thunder Rosa were supposed to be tag
Yes.
teaming, And instead of being called Thunderstorm, she said Thunder Tits.
Yes, that shit was fucking funny. And I tell you what, that Harley Cameron is pretty funny.
Yeah,
She did you see where she like kissed Anna Jay's ass or something the other day?
I didn't see
I
that,
seen a
but
video of it and like I mean it was just funny. But like I think the like caption was, "Oh look, they're doing anything to get views on AEW." It's like I don't feel like that's the case. I mean, I think that that's what's so appealing about AEW to a lot of these like guys that are getting released, or is you're actually getting like creative control. You know what I mean? Like you're actually getting to like, hey, pitch this character.
we're not talking Hulk Hogan creative control,
No,
right?
no, no.
Okay,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, as far as your gimmick goes,
sure.
like WWE, look at Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
Why
It's-
not just let him come out as Jeff Cobb?
I mean, he's made a name for himself as Jeff Cobb. But
I
go
mean,
ahead.
they let Stephanie and Gilia and all of them do it, then why? And I'm just thinking, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that didn't make it. That didn't make any sense. That sounded like a Vince McMahon call, honestly, with that name. But yeah, um, I had first heard of Jeff Cobb. It was in 2018. This is back when I was able to watch New Japan on a regular basis, and they were really promoting. It was before the G1 tournament, but they always had that special event, the G1 Climax, and all that. And he was going to be working a match with my favorite New Japan wrestler, which was Hirooki Goto. As Jim Ross says, he's like the Bret Hart of New Japan.
Right, right.
And Goto, uh, incredible wrestler. And I was really bummed out when he didn't win the 2018 or the 2019 G1 tournament. He did a lot better. He did a lot better in the G1 tournament for 2019. But I watched the match he had with Jeff Cobb, and I saw Jeff Cobb. I was like, okay, this guy's a freaking wrecking ball, but damn, he's a
Yeah.
damn good wrestler. And they had a really great match. And, he made a name for himself all over the place. And then when I saw JC Mateo, I was like, again, what the fuck?
That was my exact thoughts. I'm like, dude, why did you not let this man come out as Jeff Cobb? Like, if you're a wrestling fan that just isn't just like a WWE fanboy, you're gonna know exactly who Jeff Cobb is.
Right.
Same way with Jacob Fatu.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, it's kind of like what we was talking about earlier. That I feel like JC Mateo is gonna get mixed in the crowd. You're gonna see him as soon as this storyline boils down, because I think it's coming to Fatu turning on Solo and going baby. You know, and I'm hoping that him and Jeff Cobb actually, start working each other, because they had some crazy matches.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's like you was talking about when they signed all these other guys. Like, okay, I mean, you look at Penta and all them; they pretty much make Penta a jobber now. I mean,
Or better yet, Ray Phoenix, at Mania, with
mm,
El Grande Americano. I
I mean, it's funny, but
I like the gimmick.
yeah, I mean, it's funny, but it's also like, which I mean, that was it like 6:30 fucking Swanton that he did, Gable did or whatever. That was I did not know that dude could do that kind of shit.
For he's impressed me. He impressed me when I saw him do that roll up deadlift German suplex and stuff. And I mean, and we're not talking small fellas. I mean, hell, he did that to freaking Big E. I've seen him do it to
Yeah.
bigger guys. I'm like, damn, this dude is freaking stout.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the gimmick he's got going, I like it, especially when he puts the steel plate in. I love that. But yeah, I mean, Phoenix. I mean, that's not a good way for him to start his career.
I mean, I get that you can't just start like putting Penta and Phoenix over on everybody, but
Well, why the hell not?
yeah. Well, I mean, then why even bring them, dude? If you're not, you know, a lot of times I do feel like it's a pissing contest with AEW.
Hmm.
It's like, okay, we know you're interested in this person. We're gonna sign him, offer him a whole lot more money. Like I get you want to go where the most money's at, but to me it's like, okay, do I want to go where the most money's at, or do I want to go somewhere where I can be comfortable And I mean, I guess you could say AEW is the same way. Some of these guys get, lost in the thing. I mean, you take Malachi Black.
Yeah, that was a disappointment there. They could have done so much with him, but you know,
I mean, I think their biggest thing is they need to do like the Raw SmackDown thing. I think that there needs to be like a brand split. You have certain guys on Dynamite. You have certain guys on Collision. I mean, that's the only way that you can handle that when you have that many wrestlers. Because unfortunately, somebody's going to get lost in the shuffle.
well, wasn't that kind of why they started the whole Rampage and Collision
Well, I
shows?
mean that's what they said because like I know CM Punk was supposed to be like the one in charge of Collision, and then I mean I don't really know how I feel about CM Punk. I mean the whole Jungle Boy thing. I mean like if you watch the video, he's the one that to me instigated that shit.
From the video clip, yes, but there's also what else? What
Oh
happened
yeah, I mean
before we
that's
hit
what I'm saying.
record?
Just
Yeah,
from seeing that and
yeah,
not actually being there, and I mean, but I can see that as a veteran, you're getting mad because you try to pass your knowledge on. The young guy don't want to listen, but I mean, like I'll give you an example. We had a boy that used to train with us, and the kid actually had like family in Mexico. 'Cause I remember his grandma used to get mad at me and threatened to beat me with her chanclas, but she was in Mexico, so I wasn't too scared about it. But so we started doing a program with this kid. Because that's how we like to do, especially newer guys. We're gonna put you in there with veterans, and that way we can lead you and this and that. Well, I remember we're working him. I cut a promo telling him if his grandma's threatens to smack me with like a chancla again, I'm gonna go down to Mexico and I'm gonna clean her clock or break her hip or some stupid shit like that. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, hey Derek, if you don't care, will you quit threatening my grandma? I'm like, okay, ain't no problem. Because I mean, I don't mean shit by it.
sure,
Especially as a heel, I'm just talking shit.
right.
But so I remember he's gonna work. I think Sid one night, and so we decided the boys gonna go over there. So he goes over, the crowd fucking reacts. Goes crazy, which is what we was hoping for. Well, one of my other partners, Viper, which you haven't met him,
Hmm.
was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's gonna work. Well, when I turned it worked, boy got over. They popped. I remember it was like a month or two later. He keeps like, hey man, I want to go to this other place, but I can't work for them if I work for y'all. Okay, I'm one of them people, don't sugarcoat it. Say what you want to do. I can tell by the way you're talking what you want to do. And that's what I told him. I was like, there's no hard feelings. If that's where you feel you think that you're going to have a better career, you think you're going to get better, whatever, be my guest, man. I was like, but if you go over there, and I was like, and it ain't what you thought it was going to be, I can't guarantee you have a spot when you want to come back,
Sure,
if you even want to come back.
sure.
So, and he's like, oh man, so he makes a decision that he's going to go over there. And I'm sure you know which company I'm talking about.
Yep, yep.
But
Yep.
like I said, I don't have no beef with them, and as far as I know, they don't have any beef with us. I don't give a shit what they do. That's no, it's not disrespect toward them. It's just I'm not worried about what they're doing,
Hmm.
which is I'm sure it's the same way with me. They're not worried about what Naw's doing.
Yeah.
I hope they're doing well. I hope they're drawing crowds. Happy for them. But I remember like the first probably 3 or 4 months, this kid, they're like, we're going to train you our way.
How long had he been training prior to him making that jump?
He had trained with us probably for about 8 months to a year.
Okay, so I mean he had put some time in. Plus he had worked some shows with you.
Yeah, I mean, he'd worked like 3 or 4 shows for us, and then, but I mean, like he was talking about, he gets to work like 4 times a month, or this or that. And like I told him, I said, you got to do what's best for you, man.
Okay.
If that's what you feel like that you want to do, then we don't want to hold you back, Because like I told him, I said, if you don't want to be here, I don't want you here. I only want people here that want to be here. That's how I feel about that. I'm not here to dictate your career. If you feel like that's going to help your career, you feel like that's where you need to go, then so be it, man. No hard feelings.
Did he have to sign a contract? And that
I
was
have no idea, man.
that's the only thing I could think of, because if he if he told you that if he wanted to work for them, he couldn't work for y'all. That kind of that's
That,
why I was kind of curious.
that's what I'm guessing. That's what I've always heard. I mean, I don't know. I think that's the case if you want to work full time for them, which to a point I understand because it does suck when you invest a lot of time into somebody and you start building them up and then they're like, oh, well, fuck y'all. And
Sure.
unfortunately, it happens a lot, man. You'll get these guys, you'll get them to where they need to be, kind of get them resonating with the crowd, and then next thing you know, they're like, oh, well, I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying don't go anywhere else, but like hone your craft a little bit before you decide to start going other places.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, I know this answer, but some of the fans may not. But there are other independent promotions that you can go work at, and still work for
Oh yeah, I
you can
mean,
work for various
absolutely.
promotions.
Well, I
Okay.
mean, that's like I tell guys. I was like, I'm not one of these people that's going to tell you if you go work for these guys that you can't work for us no
Mm-hmm.
more. Now it's a little different. Say, with us running a Nebo, okay, say they were running a Mastonville, okay, then that might be a little bit of a problem
Mm-hmm.
because now we're both running kind of the same territory,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to use the same guys that they're using. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, that particular promotion was actually here in my home, and actually practically in my backyard. Last month, I contemplated going to the show, but I told you, and I think I told JC I was going to wear my NOS shirt,
Yeah.
but then I probably would have been escorted out, so I wound up not doing that. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Um,
That's something I have no ill will toward them. I know that they've had like beefs with other companies,
yeah,
but I mean, I don't. They've never done anything to me. You know, I mean, you do you. That's the way I see it. You do you. I mean, they've been around for a while, so I mean, they're doing something right.
sure.
So
It'd be kind of cool. It'd be kind of cool if there was ever a time that to do like some kind of cross promotional thing, kind of similar to what WCW and New Japan did at the '95 Starcade when something kind of
yeah,
like
and
that,
see, and we talked about that. We would be down for that. That we have, I have no problem working with anybody, but it has to be something that's going to benefit both sides.
Right.
I'm not going to come work with you and put all your guys over on my guys.
Sure.
Now, if you want to pay your guys to come in, I'll pay my guys to come in, and we can work it out. Like,
Sure.
I have no problem. Like, I would love to do something like that with somebody, but nobody's really. That situation just hasn't come.
Yeah. Yeah. And see that Starcade, it was like 7 matches, and I think it got down to like it was tied 3-3. Something like that. I mean, that'd be awesome to have. But I mean, I know that's something for down the road, but that'd be pretty cool to have.
Yeah, I mean, and that's how I'd like to do it. Not bury each other's talent.
You mean you don't want to be like Vince and bury all the
No.
WCW guys? Damn. God, did he bury those people?
Well, I mean, and that's the thing about like, when I tell these guys, like I always tell them home base. That's what I talked about in training that one day. Because that's how it always was for me. Like my home base when Kenny Cotton was running, because that was the guy that gave me my start. That was my number one priority. If he wasn't running that day that you needed me, I was more than down to come work for you because he never told us you can't work for nobody else. And it's the same way. And all I ask is if you're booked for us, for the year or whatever, or if you're a regular, then show up to my shows. You have 3 other Saturdays out of the month that you can go work for somebody else, and I don't have a problem out of
Okay.
it. But the only thing I ever hated was you don't come to my show and you go to somebody else's show, but you call me and say, "Oh, well, I couldn't come because I had a flat tire or whatever."
Then there comes an issue with
Yeah, and that's
integrity.
an issue because one, you lied to me.
Yeah.
Two, you just fucked over us when we've been the one investing our time, helping you hone your craft, and we're giving you an audience to work in front. It's not like you're going out there and working in front of 10 people.
Right.
You're going out there and working in front of like 75 people and plus.
Sure.
Now I know to some people that's going, well, that ain't a lot. That's a lot in an indie show.
Yeah. Especially where the NOS shows are held at.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, I've worked shows, man, like in Hartford, where I literally wrestled. I remember there was one show. I think we were in like Lewisburg, Kentucky,
Yeah.
and literally 6 fucking paid people. Promoter comes back there and is like, guys, y'all ain't getting paid tonight.
Oh,
And I looked out there at the crowd. I was like, I already knew that shit was coming.
damn. If you don't mind me asking, was it lack of advertising or lack of interest or
I'm thinking like advertising.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know because I think this was like the second time that I worked for this promoter.
Okay.
And I mean, it could have just been the town. I mean, certain towns you go to just ain't gonna draw. I mean,
Right.
it's just like we ran Eddyville one time, and first couple times, man, we drew like 75, 80 people.
Yeah.
Then I think we went like tried to do it like we tried to do it like 3 or 4 months in a row. Well, that third show had about 40 something people.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of things that go on at Eddyville, especially like summertime. You got the lake, and
Oh God, yeah.
you know what I'm saying. So I mean, like we talked about, if we're gonna run Eddyville, it's probably something we're gonna do when it gets a little bit colder.
And it's funny with me living here in Eddyville. I'm not that far from the lake. I don't ever go to the lake. And I know these folks are going to be like, "Well, what the hell's the matter with you?" Well, I don't have the money to have a big bass boat or a
Right.
pontoon boat and stuff and all that. I mean, the only time I ever go to the lake is like if because I like to drive the back roads and stuff. So like if I'm
Yeah.
driving to Cadiz to meet my mom and stepdad to pick Brianna up, or um, this is actually about to start up. They have a thing. It's called WOW, which means worship on the water. And for those of you that don't know, I sing at my church, Eddyville Methodist. And if you'd ever like to come visit, love to have you. But starting this Sunday, worship on the water starts. It starts like 8:30 in the morning and stuff, and it's actually at uh, let's see, there we meet over close to where Echo Charlie's is or was at and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like about an hour long service and stuff. And honestly, a lot of folks that come to our church services, more likely they'll just be going to WOW, won't be coming to
Yeah.
Eddyville
Yeah. Yeah.
Methodist and all that. But yeah, that goes on until Labor Day weekend. So it goes from Memorial Day weekend to Labor Day weekend. And so I may actually go to the lake maybe once,
Right.
a
Right.
year,
Well, I
maybe
mean, that's like the
twice.
races. Where I live at.
Hmm.
Nebo. That's what Nebo's mostly known for. It's not known for wrestling. It's known for the races.
Yeah.
So, but I don't care nothing about going to the races. I don't think I've ever been in my life.
My father, oh God, you've never had the luxury of meeting my father, and you probably never will. But which of course he retired to Florida into land, as he calls it, the Holy Land. He keeps trying to talk me into going, and I said, Dad, I said I've got 3 daughters here in Kentucky. I can't just pack up and
Yeah.
move.
Yeah.
Now, would I like to be in a climate where it's consistent and on a regular basis? Well, hell yeah, I would.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
but there was something I was about. Damn, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, folks. Give me just a
Damn
second here.
Coors.
I've only had three. Jeez.
Damn beer.
But oh shit.
CJC, this is what happens. You show up in person, you actually get to drink a beer with somebody.
What was I saying before I mentioned my dad?
You was talking about the worship thing.
Oh, the races.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
races,
races.
races. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he used to take me to those dirt track races. And as a kid, I freaking hated going because we were up there till the wee hours of the morning and
Right,
stuff. I
right,
was
right.
tired all the time, and even then I hated huge crowds of people because you had to climb over folks to get
Right.
into the bleachers. Now, as I got older, I didn't mind going. I thought it was pretty awesome. The only part I really got enjoyment was when the cars smashed into each other because it
Right,
was
right.
like being at a demolition derby. But then the other crazy part was when sometimes the drivers would jump out of their car and want to get into a fight with
Yeah,
the other
yeah.
driver that just caused them to wreck their vehicle. Um, I think the last time I went to a dirt track race. It was probably back in '08, maybe '09, something like that. I mean, I enjoyed it, but as a little kid, I hated it because
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's just, I've never been into NASCAR or any of that. I mean,
yeah,
it's the same way with wrestling. I'm sure, there's probably some people listening to your podcast who care less about the wrestling,
sure.
and they would be more amped to go to the races. I mean,
Well,
I'm not hating on it. It's just, for me, it's not something and I'm not a water guy, so I don't care nothing about going to the lake.
well, and I'll tell you, I rented a pontoon boat one time. This was after me and my second. This is probably about about 3 months after me and my second wife got married, and we were living in an apartment in Princeton, and I had Brianna for a week. We went and rented a pontoon boat, and this was in 2020. So the the state had slowly started opening stuff back up. We rented it for 4 hours. We had to pay a $200 deposit just to rent the boat,
Yeah.
or it might have been more. They don't tell you that you also got to pay for the fuel costs and stuff and all that after.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, and we did a lot of driving in the water
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. I think the fuel was like I think we it was like 70, $80 just to fill it back up.
God.
Um come no, no, take that back. It was 400. It was 400. It was a $200 deposit, $200 for 4 hours. I think that's about right. And so I wound up spending about almost $500 for 4 hours on the
Mm.
lake. And I mean, thank God we had money saved up. But
Yeah,
damn, I mean,
yeah.
it was insane. But we had a blast. But it's not something I could do on a regular
Yeah, I mean, that's
basis.
that's a lot of money, to come up, especially for 4 hours.
4 hours.
I mean, hey, you come to a NAW show for less than 100, buddy.
That's right.
I
You can come to many shows for less than
know,
100.
right?
That's provided
Yeah,
you.
you get 2 or 3 shows out of
That's right. Now, if you go to the concessions, definitely 3 shows, maybe
that.
four.
Yeah, but you're gonna get some good food. I will say that they, that's one thing about the old lady and the crew that she's got. She's got a really good crew. All of them are either friends or like co-workers, which I mean, they're all friends. We've all gotten to be pretty tight, over the years, and all that. But yeah, I mean, they're gonna make sure that food's hot, and they're gonna make sure you're taken care of.
Yeah. The the I think it was the second show I went to when I was in the crowd, before I started working with you guys. Not to pull the curtain back too much, but I think they were still selling those pickles and
Yeah,
stuff and all that. Brianna wanted one. I bought her one. I wound up buying one myself, and I've seen the food, and I don't eat really a lot of concessions, but I've seen the food. I'm like, gosh, dang, that's some good quality food you
yeah.
got there. So, and you look around, you see you see fans with either a drink or food or
Oh
both or
yeah. I
something.
mean,
So I mean, that's awesome. But yeah, Miss Betty runs a tight ship back there, but
oh
she
yeah,
does a
she
damn good
does.
job of it. So, um, there was something I was gonna ask you. Actually, no, not ask you. I never did tell JC what territory that I would work in if I was working in the territory days. But I'm sure he'll listen to it. I would have picked AWA, shockingly.
Oh yeah. I wasn't even
Um,
thinking about them. Yeah.
and we're talking, and I'm talking before
Yeah.
Vince
So
ran
you
him.
talking about Gagne, Byrne, and them, huh?
Yeah. Well, we talked about average looking people being wrestlers. Greg, take his son Greg. I mean, geez Louise.
And
Um,
and Greg wasn't a bad worker
no, he
as
was a
far as like some of the AWA. Because I remember I bought Dad a DVD of it, and we watched a bunch of the matches. But I mean, his biggest thing, like I was talking about earlier, is being promoter's son. You
w-
know,
well, did you ever watch Jesse Ventura's RF shoot interview?
I don't think so.
I've got the DVD if you ever want to borrow it. Um, but he mentioned about he talked about his time in AWA, and he was asked the question by Rob if Greg was one of the boys or more office. He said Greg was more office, and he said he made a comment. He said you know, Greg was a great tag team wrestler,
Mm-hmm.
and he said the only gripe I had about him was, and I quote, he didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
He said now his partner Jim Brunzell, he did work out. He said you see the difference in the bodies and stuff. He said, but if you're the promoter's son, you don't have to work out. But I will say, Greg was a great. I've watched some of
Yeah, I
his
mean,
matches. Damn good worker.
yeah, I mean, you can't. And like I said, sometimes that's what sucks is just if people when people know you're a part of the show, and I guess that's like one of the reasons, like me and JC, wanted to have like a front man,
Mm-hmm.
which I know a lot of them probably already know. But I mean, we don't go out there and push that issue, like, oh, I'm the boss, because when I'm in the back, I'm one of the boys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've seen, people seen that. You've seen that when you come back there and talk to us before.
Yeah.
And I mean, hell, a lot of them guys, we're good buddies. I mean, they message me, we talk. They ask me, hey man, what do you think about this? Because that's what I always tell guys. If you got an idea, shoot it.
Mm-hmm.
Because your idea may be better than what I was thinking.
Unless if you're certain people
Yeah, unless
that
you're that damn Slugger Jackson or Chad McCoy, then you might as well keep that shit to yourself.
damn. I hope Slugger hears this.
Let's hope so. I hope he does.
Good for nothing piece of
Yeah, he
shit.
sure is.
But no, man, if I was in AWA, I would have wanted to have been there before Vince started, basically pillaging the territories and stuff and all that. Because I mean, yes, I know, I know people like to say you're my hero, Hogan. No, Hogan was not my hero.
Uh,
But no, I mean, but you had guys like Nick Bockwinkel, Jesse Ventura, Ken Patera,
oh yeah.
both Gagnes. Bobby. He had Bobby Heenan there. Mad Dog Vachon. Let's see.
Yeah, I
Even
mean, it was a shame how Vince done that. You know, I mean, I would never and I would never try to do something like that to another promotion, especially not on purpose.
you, do you know who Bob Roop is?
Yeah.
Okay. Folks, for those of you who don't know who Bob Roop is, look him up on the internet. Um, he was a very well accomplished amateur and professional wrestler. But on that Black Saturday episode for Dark Side of the Ring, there was a clip they had shown. He had said, and I quote, Vince McMahon is a cancer to the wrestling business because, when that whole thing happened with Black
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, it eventually, well, it's not what put the territories out, but it was kind of a catalyst,
Oh
because
yeah, I mean, you sit there and you take the top talent,
hmm
and that's what sucks because, yeah, I know, he come over here, change his name or whatever, give Hogan that gimmick or whatever, but it's like these guys got over here. They got over here and honed their craft here, and now you're coming in and just stealing their top talent. And
hmm
I mean, that's dirty.
yeah, yeah. Ventura had actually been asked about, would Vern have survived? He had said that had Vern simply protected his backyard, he said he may have survived. Like paying his talent,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
money, maybe a little more money and stuff and all that. I've watched some of their stuff on Peacock and all that, and WWF at the time, that was just a whole different animal. The way
Oh
with their
yeah,
shows
yeah.
and
I mean,
production and stuff and all that. I think maybe also had Vern changed some things with that. I think he may have lasted a little bit longer, but yeah, I gotta say, I agree with you. The way Vince did things was
let me
pretty
run.
was pretty dirty. All right, folks, I'm gonna hit the pause button again. And we'll be right back. All right, folks, we are back. Definitely apologize for the restroom breaks, but this is my first episode where I've actually had us drinking beer. And Miss Betty, I promise he's only had one. Now, folks, I have had three. Um, I had contemplating getting me a fourth one, but I was like, nah, I better not because there's no telling what I'll say at this point.
That's why I only drank one.
Well, hell, plus you got to drive back home, so.
Yeah. got to wrap it up in about 10 or 15 minutes anyway.
Oh, bull. Yeah. Damn. We've been
It don't seem that long, does it?
no, we've been going for over 2 hours, man.
That's what I told Lady. She's like, I see y'all sit there and talk to her 3 hours. Like, 'cause it don't feel like it.
No, it's a shame that this sound recording app only allows 3 hours. Of course, I found that out the hard way when I was trying to load up my interview with Ben and Trevor. But anyway, it was so funny because the thing still kept going.
Yeah,
It kept going, but when it came time to upload,
that only
it only did
upload
only
3
3
hours.
hours. Yeah. Um. Well, we're definitely going to have you back for a part 3 now because I
Oh
know
yeah,
we.
because we just got all kinds of off subject, and that's that damn beer, I think.
This may have limited views.
I'm like, well, damn, we thought they were gonna talk about wrestling.
Well, folks, we have talked about wrestling, but we have steered a little bit. I do want to mention you mentioned 6 people. Um, so I mentioned community theater, which I did. I did about 6 years altogether, and over in Greenville, it's called the Palace Theater, and that's always been my favorite place. Whenever if I did any acting, was there, and I don't know. It I think from what I heard, this didn't happen on with any program I was a part of, but there was one show. They only had one. They had one paying customer.
Oh God.
They still did the program.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we did with the 6 people. I mean, we went out there and we still put on a hell of a match. And don't get me wrong, I didn't go out there and do nothing crazy that night because I
Hmm.
was thinking, but I still wanted to give the people a good show.
Sure. Um, I know. Which that I think that theater seats maybe 100, give or take. Which it's an old theater. You know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It just made me veer to that when you mentioned 6. I was gonna say, well, I've heard of theaters only still running if they only had one person, which back then they ran 6 shows. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 2 weekends in a row. I think they actually trimmed it
So,
down to
was
just
you
3.
one of them that performed in front of that one person, or?
No,
Oh,
no. This was actually right before I start. Not too long before I started. So I started in 2010. This was sometime before
oh,
then.
okay.
So
I didn't know maybe if you had performed because I know it's hard to perform like that sometimes because you're just like,
yeah,
man, it's just
yeah,
it's rough because and when you do anything like that, especially theater, wrestling, whatever it is, you want a decent crowd.
absolutely.
I could imagine working in front of one person. That would just be sad as fuck.
Yeah, yeah. What was one? My very first one. It was Harvey back in 2010, and um, we had a sellout crowd the second Friday, but it seemed like any show for Sunday afternoons, it was never a huge turnout.
Yeah.
It never really was. But I mean, which I mean, we live in the Bible Belt, so I mean, traditionally, you go to church, you go home, you eat
Oh
lunch,
yeah.
and then you watch the races, watch the ball game,
Right.
sit back in
Right.
your recliner, drink a beer or 3 or whatever. So, um, before we have to cut out, let me think. Um, who I don't know if I asked you this on the last episode, but hell, if I did, so be it. Who is your favorite wrestler growing up?
I would definitely have to be Ric Flair.
Woo!
That's right. I mean, that was just the man that just got me hooked on it. Like I loved watching him and Steamboat go at it. I mean, fucking just classic ass matches.
Yeah,
Or him and Dusty. I mean, you couldn't go wrong if you had Dusty or Steamboat in there with Flair.
hell no.
And I mean, I just feel like Flair was always one of them guys that it didn't matter who you put him in there with. Like his promos were awesome, and he just always good matches. I mean, it didn't matter. And when I first started, I like patting my career between like I wanted to be like Flair and I wanted to be like DiBiase.
Yeah, DiBiase. It really surprised me that he was never Intercontinental Champion during that era because back then, your Intercontinental Champions were more technical based.
Right.
Well, discounting the Ultimate Warrior, but back then they were really good. They were your hard ass workers and stuff. It really surprised me he did not get a run, at least with that. Um, but anyways, I didn't mean to cut you off on that. I did want to ask, what did you did? Do you think Flair and Hogan should have headlined WrestleMania 8 back, which that was in Indiana? That was over in Indianapolis.
I mean, I would say so because those were probably two of your biggest names. And I mean, I'm not a big Hogan fan. I mean, I know that's your hero, but
Folks, that is not my hero. Let me just clarify that. But anyways,
that's just me giving him a hard time.
all the time.
But I mean, I think that just sells the place out. I mean, because like I said, I feel like Flair could have worked with anybody, and I mean, I don't feel like Hogan was hard to work. I just feel like that Hogan. I mean, everybody knows the story about Hogan. He if he didn't like if he didn't like something, he wasn't gonna get it. Yeah, I mean, it's just point blank. I mean, and I'm sure he probably wouldn't have put Flair over if they did. He might have, but I kind of doubt it.
So if we're talking, well, actually, hell, but the Hogan at that time, it would have had to have had a screwy finish. And I'm only saying that because I got to think back to the Survivor Series '91 that was just 4 or 5 months earlier with Undertaker. Now, folks, Undertaker is my hero. Hell, I've been wearing my Undertaker cap during this whole episode, but um, that had that wasn't it wasn't like Warrior and Hogan at WrestleMania 6. I mean, Hogan, if he was going to lose back then, it was under screwy circumstances and stuff. So no,
Oh yeah, you weren't gonna be Hogan clean, that's for sure.
no. Come to think of it, how many? I can't think of many people that did beat Hogan clean. Warrior was one of them.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot I can really think of, to be honest.
Uh, damn, I'm really trying to. I guess we could say Goldberg, you know, and that's about it. But um, Flair, he should have had a better run his first go around with WWF, because I remember he had worked the match with Tito Santana at the Battle Royal at the Royal Albert Hall. Great match, really great match.
Oh yeah, Tito was a good worker too. I mean, you
Mm.
had a lot of dark horses, that never really got a push, like Rick the Model Martel. I loved Rick the Model Martel.
Mm-hmm.
Great gimmick. People hated him. Never really got that push.
I always liked that atomizer that he had that he sprayed in
Yeah.
people's faces. I always loved that. Do you think Flair could have? Do you think it was necessary for him to have Mr. Perfect as his quote unquote executive consultant? Do you think he could have gotten away? Do you think he could have been? Do you think he could have been okay even without having somebody by his side?
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely. I think that they should have presented Flair like they did back in the day. With the women, the jet stealing. I mean the suits. I mean, I feel like that. I mean, to me, Flair could hold his own anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, his promos were great. You know, I mean, I think the only person that might out promo him would need to be Macho Man or Dusty Rhodes. At that point,
Right.
those were the only guys that could even hold a candle to him.
Yeah. And I'm not taking any. And I mentioned WrestleMania 8. And I'm not taking anything away from that match that him and Randy had. I mean, that was a great match, and it told a good story. If they weren't going to put him with Hogan, then I mean, yeah, Randy Savage would be great, but that match should have headlined Mania.
Oh yeah,
You
most
know,
definitely.
I mean, that was a damn good match. Uh, and but did you read Ric Flair's book? I know you said he was your
I've watched the
favorite.
documentary. I don't think I've ever read his book.
Never read his book. Okay, I've never read the book either, and actually, I've never watched the documentary. I need to watch that. Have you watched the Four Horsemen documentary?
Yeah,
Or
oh yeah. That
okay.
was a household thing in the house when I was growing up. It was like AWA, Four Horsemen, especially the original Four Horsemen.
um, I did not realize that J.J. Dillon was a manager because when I first ever saw J.J. Dillon, he was an authority figure with WCW back during the NWO time frame and stuff. And I didn't realize till years later, listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, that JJ was actually with WWF at the time, working behind the scenes. I didn't know that, you know. But anyways, I digress. Must be them Coors banquets. Um, other than Nate and Steamboat, any other favorite Ric Flair matches?
Probably him and Dusty. I mean, him and
Mm-hmm.
Dusty just it was always good, man. It was always like just back and forth, and I don't know Flair just always being the dirtiest player in the game, and just the lifestyle that he showed, and
Woo!
yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because I remember there's a guy, I think he's out of Georgia. He comes down, he does a lot of indie shows, and that's what he does. He goes by, I think Paulie Lee or something, and he does the Ric Flair gimmick. But like he said, he's actually got permission from Ric Flair to do it. Comes out and does the woo, does all like the Ric Flair, like the bump in the corner, going over the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
But he does add like his own stuff to it. Like he actually done a suicide dive, which I don't ever really remember Ric Flair doing a suicide dive. So, but he used the figure four. But I remember he, I loved his line. He's like, "You can woo me, but don't you boo me." And I was like, "That is fucking great." I loved it.
Did you like Ric Flair's woo off with Jay Lethal and TNA?
I did to a point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like Jay Lethal. I liked when he done the Macho Man thing, when he done the Black Machismo, but it's also like I don't, you can't. I mean, you just can't replace Macho Man.
No.
I mean, I know it was nothing but respect, but like I remember there was one guy that used to work in the Indies. Like he was a huge Shawn Michaels fan. Used the super kick, come out as the heartbreaker or something. Even like tried to wear like the same fucking tights and shit.
Oh wow.
And my thing was like, I get that like that's your hero or whatever, but be you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't completely rip off somebody else's gimmick.
Right.
Like I said, when I first started, man, I remember not even having gear. They'd pitched to me like, okay, we're gonna have y'all do upper class. So we spelled it with a K instead of a C, and it was like me, Sid, and I think James. It might have been and Johnny Richards. He went by Master Rich at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I loved Master Rich's gimmick because he actually brought a butler out with him. He
That's what.
actually had a guy in a black suit, the white gloves, was bald, and come out as this fucking butler.
Oh man, I didn't mean to start laughing. That just reminded me of Tony Storm because she
Yeah,
has
yeah,
Luther as her
yeah,
butler.
Luther, yeah. But
Um,
when I first started, man, I wore like khakis and a polo shirt. We was doing like the preppy thing,
kind of like Mean Street Posse
kind of before they stole it from us, but
bastards.
yeah, motherfuckers. But that's what we wore, and I remember Bill Dundee one time. I'd been in business maybe like 2 years at the time, and this is before I really knew where to get gear made or any of that shit. And I remember Bill Dundee asked me if I was like the principal or something because I used to carry one of them like paddles. You remember
Mm.
like they like I guess to be a college paddle or whatever.
Yeah, you see a lot of it with at least back when I was in college. They always each fraternity. I
Yeah.
know the fraternities had
Well, mine
paddles.
was the FAHQ, the fuck you. And I remember the first one got broke because I had my cousin make it,
Hmm.
and like I stained it, put like some, made it my own, and I used to use that thing all, and people fucking hated that paddle. I remember when I started working JC after we started working at Angle. I remember Mama Flash wanted to take that paddle and shove it up my ass so many fucking times because I used that son bitch so many times, man. But I remember my first one got broke, and I called my cousin. I'm like, dude, I need you to make me another one.
Yeah.
He's like, we're gonna make this one thicker,
Oh
and I'm like,
shoot.
okay. I was like, this is either gonna be a good thing or it's gonna be a bad thing because there's been a few times I've been hit with this son bitch too. So, and I'll tell you what, that one didn't get broke, but I got hit with it one time in the damn head, and I was like, fuck, that hurt. But it was the fuck you too.
Right.
But I remember they fucking hated us at the armory, man. We'd you had like the Flash Brothers, which was JC and his partner DC at the time, and I think that's when David started coming out with them. And Josh's dad always carried like the taser stick around.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so that was always fun. But I remember they were like one of the big babies there, and then we had the Rough Riders there, and they played like cowboy gimmick, and fucking crowd just loved them. They come out to save a horse, ride a cowboy.
That's a good song.
Yeah, I mean, and it was perfect for them. But I remember, like, we used to get so much heat in the armory, man. I remember one night there, we were sitting there fucking hollering, "Put them motherfuckers in body bags." I'm like, fucking shit, guys, calm down. And, like, if you knew the Rough Riders, both these guys, like, 6'3", 6'4". I'm 19, 20 years old, man.
Basically, you needed to pack a lunch or two or
Yeah,
something.
because, and that used to be, like, the running joke, because, like, they were known for chops.
Okay.
So I knew every time I wrestled them, man, I was getting fucking chopped. My chest gonna be sore for a while.
Mm.
And then you got these damn fans out there screaming, put them in a body bag. It's like, fuck you motherfuckers. They're already gonna kick my ass tonight. And ain't a whole lot I can do about it. But let me backtrack a little bit. I remember we went to Hartford one night. And me and Sid was supposed to work somebody that night. And I think Kenny had come back there and he's like, well, man, I can't get nobody to work Rough Riders. Everybody's scared of them. I'm like, well, fuck it. Me and Sid will work them. And they come to us. They said, since you boys weren't pussies, he said, we're going to take it easy on y'all tonight. He said, we only chop y'all like 2 or 3 times.
Mm.
And but it was, and pretty much that's how, like, we got a lot of our respect, because like all these other people was, and it wasn't that the Rough Riders would hurt you, man. It's just the Rough Riders expected you to listen.
Yeah.
Because I think it was they were kin to the original Assassin.
Yeah.
In USWA, so they had a higher standard set to them.
Sure.
And I mean they just, but fuck, man, they were some of the guys that made our careers, got me to where I was a heel like I was, and got over, because I remember we feuded with them like for 6 months. I told Cotton, I said, God damn, Cotton, every time my damn chest gets healed, then it's fucking bruised again. But I mean, I remember like when we earned their respect, we were I think we were in Indiana or Illinois one time, and my brother had worked a guy, and the guy tried to fucking hurt him because it was on like his 3rd or 4th match.
Right.
Just being a dick. And Rough Riders, they watched it. They said, "We got you, boys. We're gonna take care of that shit." And I mean, they went out there and they beat the fuck out of that boy.
Damn.
I mean, busted him open.
Mm.
I don't think that's somebody's come to another show after that. But I mean, that was a lot of the problem back in the day. You had a lot of these veterans that, some of them wanted to be dicks, not all of them. It's kind of like promoters. You're gonna have good promoters out there, and you're gonna have promoters that ain't worth fuck.
Right.
But I mean, there's a lot of people I give credit to. Viper, Grunge, Gator McAllister, Rough Riders. I mean, there were so many people that helped me with my career, to get me to where I am today.
Sure.
And without them, there wouldn't be no Justin Style.
Or as what is it, Slugger Jackson called you, out of style or something?
Yeah. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck you, Slugger.
That's gonna be the next slogan. Instead of fuck you, Kyle, it's gonna be fuck you, Slugger.
Oh man, I'm sure he'll be running his mouth off about after he listens to this podcast. I'm sure he'll run his mouth off at the next show, whether in front of the crowd or behind the scenes, because that's all he seems to know how to do is just run his mouth
I
off.
wish you could have seen some of the Armory days, man. Some of the shit that we did at the Armory. Oh my god, that place used to be packed out. We'd have, I don't even remember how many people you could have in there, but I know you'd have people like sitting on the bottom. You had people on the fucking top. But there was a guy named Shorty, which he's not with us no more, and he was a little person. Which, like I said, he didn't give a fuck. You called him a midget or whatever. He didn't give a fuck. But remember that little fucker jumped off the damn balcony one night and old Cotton or Conrad, I don't remember who was running the armory that night, but they were madder than a motherfucker. Because he literally climbed on top of that balcony and fucking jumped off somebody through a table.
Oh my God.
And then Cotton got mad at us one night, got mad at us and the Rough Riders. Rough Riders put me through a table one night. I dented a Coke machine with my head.
Oh
And it
damn.
wasn't on purpose.
Sure.
You know, just shit happens, you know. Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah.
But I remember Cotton was madder than fuck. He's like, now I gotta pay $50 for that motherfucking table that y'all broke.
Oh damn. So this wasn't one of y'all's
No,
tables. that you-
no, it wasn't one of our tables.
Oh, damn it.
Oh yeah, he was mad as fuck. He's like, I'm gonna take that out of y'all's pay.
It's
like, when did we start getting paid, Cotton?
Did you at least get so you didn't get a half-eaten hot dog. You got no hot dog.
No, I got a handshake that night. But I tell you what, man, I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world, man. That's where a lot of times I kind of like hone our skills. And I remember, I think one of like the biggest nights that we had, as far as like me and Josh and all of us, was upper class that took on the Rough Riders and the Flash Boys.
Mm.
And I tell you what, that crowd was crazy that night because
Yeah.
you had two of the top babies. Because I mean, it was like Rough Riders, Flash Boys. Those were two of your top tag teams.
Yeah.
Then you had like, I guess we were like the Four Horsemen. You know, there was like four of us, and we were just bad motherfuckers. You know, as far as being heels and shit, we were always cheating. And I remember one of the guys in my thing in the group, James, like that motherfucker, he was good at talking shit, fucking good at it. Well, they had this belt that we were carrying. I think we were tag team champions, or I might have been like U.S. champion or something at the time. But they hadn't changed the nameplate on it yet. It had like Hoss or something on it.
Okay. Okay.
So this is gonna come into the story, but
Okay.
so this woman's like, I need that belt. That's my belt. And my buddy says, yeah, you take the two S's off, it'd be your belt.
Ah!
Oh, you talking about a mad fucking woman right there. Well, I guess she's there with her husband, her daughter, and then her daughter's boyfriend. And you know, of course, I guess her daughter's boyfriend, he got like Billy Badass that night. You know,
Oh, hell.
you can't be disrespecting her mama like that. This motherfucker, he starts talking shit to me, and I'm thinking, motherfucker, I didn't even say it, but okay. So you know, he's like, I'm gonna whoop your ass out in the parking lot, and this and that. And I told him, I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, you go ahead and head out that way, and if I ain't out there in 5 minutes, you start without me. And, so, you know, he's fucking pissed. Well, they ended up fucking leaving. And I remember Cotton and them was like, well, Derek, we're going to have security walk out there with you that night. I said, Cotton, I don't need no fucking security. I said, if that motherfucker's out there waiting in my car, I said, you're going to have a bad fucking day.
Right.
Because I always kept like brass knucks in my bag.
Sure.
That was used for, you know, for wrestling. It wasn't used. I didn't actually plan on using them, but you know, you just never know if somebody's got a knife, got a gun,
Sure.
you know, whatever. So that was always like my equalizer. If I had two or three of them jump on me, then
Yeah.
But needless to say, that guy wasn't out there waiting on me, and them people didn't come back.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
that's some funny shit though.
Yeah. It's crazy because, I've heard the stories from Mr. Cornette and, just from listening to his episodes. And it really sounds like a lot of these independent shows are reminiscent of the territory days when fans are trying to attack you or, threatening to beat you up or they're slashing your tires or
Oh
something
yeah,
like
I
that.
mean,
Yeah.
that's when you know you're doing your job.
Right.
Is when the fans actually hate you. You know, I mean, I remember I had a guy threaten to stab me one night. He's like, I got a fucking knife in my pocket and I will stab you.
Mm,
And I broke character that night.
sure.
Because it's one thing to threaten me, but when I actually see you go reach your hand in your pocket, that's when I have a fucking problem.
Sure.
Because I was getting my heat, and then he started talking shit, and then like I seen him reaching his pocket, and I was like, I told him, I said, you grab something out of that pocket, I said, I'm gonna bust you in your fucking head.
Right. Oh man. Um other than those two instances, have you had any other instance where a fan like has anybody actually legit attacked you? You know, instead of just
I had a woman like fucking pull my hair or punch me in the back of the head one day
really.
at a show. Well, it was kind of my fault, which I mean, security should have been over there, but that's like as a heel, you're not supposed to turn your back to the fans,
Mm-hmm.
especially ones that you know might be capable of doing that.
Right.
Because she might have just pushed me. I don't know. All I remember is like feeling somebody's hands on me, and I turned around, had my fucking fist drawn back, and then realized it was like a 50-year-old woman.
Oh, me. Um, Tommy Rich mentioned on that Black Saturday Dark Side of the Ring episode. He talked about how talked about the Georgia Peaches and grannies loved him too. He said I watched a granny beat up on Ole Anderson because he was beating up on me. So
Yeah.
she went and whacked him with a cane.
I remember Dad one time. He was wrestling a guy, and the guy's dad, knew it was a work or whatever. But I guess just being a son, and Dad was the heel, and Dad was beating the shit out of him. That guy jumped in the ring, pulled a knife on my dad, and my dad actually had to like get out of the ring, and that guy he was working actually had to break character, quit selling, and stop his dad from doing something.
Really? Damn.
Yeah. So I mean, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very fortunate that it hasn't happened a whole lot. But I mean, I've gotten some heat where motherfuckers, a lot of them's just gonna threaten, I'm gonna whoop your ass outside or something,
Sure. Uh, I'm gonna make this little disclaimer, folks. If you go to a show, don't jump the rope, don't jump the guardrails, don't try to attack the wrestlers, and because not there's a variety of things that will happen. You
Yeah.
you will either get attacked back, and you'll be banned from future shows for that particular promotion. And there's also a legal standpoint, where law enforcement gets involved, and then you wind up going to the crossbar hoosgow for a night or however long.
Hmm.
That is if charges, decide if they decide to press charges. Don't attack the wrestlers. You can sit back, boo, yell, scream, whatever, but don't try to attack people. I mean, come on, you use some common sense. But
It's funny as you talk about it. I actually watched a video before I come over here on YouTube. You ever watch that Wrestling Gets Real?
I do.
All right. Well, I'd watched one earlier, and it was like they just posted like a week ago, an hour ago, something like that. And it was the same fucking instance. These people were at an indie show. It was in 2024. I don't know what the indie show was, but a baby in a heel was in there working, and some guy jumped in there, and they said about 18 fucking wrestlers come out of the locker room and pretty much dogpiled this motherfucker. Well, one, he got his ass whooped, and then two, they showed a video of him being in jail, and he said, "Yeah, it probably wasn't the best decision I ever made, but the guy was like, yeah, but it ain't. But I've made worse decisions than that." And then he's talking to the cop. The cop's like, "Where are you gonna be back?" He said, "Well, I can't say yes and I can't say no. I won't be back to jail." So I was like, "Yeah, that guy wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed anyway." But most of the time, that's what's gonna happen. Either the two guys that's in the ring is gonna fuck you up, or there's about to be a shitload of other wrestlers come out that's gonna fuck you up.
Well, if you'll remember, back in the WCW days, the late Brian Hildebrand, but known as Mark Curtis, um, he took out a fan that tried to attack some wrestlers, and I think the late Randy Anderson did as well. So I mean, heck, so folks, even referees will
Oh yeah,
take
I
you down as
mean,
well.
that's why the guardrails there, the ropes there. That's for your safety, because once you cross that rope, we don't get in any legal trouble.
Yep.
I mean, if they cross that rope, and I am more than able to protect myself, and it won't a damn thing be said to me, because you going, well, it ain't gonna probably, you gonna get your ass whooped,
Hmm.
and then you're gonna go to jail more than likely.
Fans, you pay to see the show, not try to be a part
Yeah,
of the
don't
show.
try to be a part of it. If you want to be a part of it, come do it the right way.
Right, right. There's plenty of training opportunities and stuff and all that.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm sure we went past our 10, 15-minute stretch. I don't want you to I don't want you to get in trouble with Miss Betty.
Oh,
So
I'll probably already be in trouble.
hell. But I'll mention this to you. If you back in 2011, Ric Flair called Honky Tonk Man's podcast. Get a chance if you get a chance, listen to it. It's like a 12-minute video and stuff. I will tell you, Flair is he's had some drinks,
Yeah.
when he made the phone call. But it's funny if you get a chance, listen to it. It's just back and forth between those two. So yeah, if you're driving home, if the weather ain't bad, definitely look that up and listen to it. It's
Oh yeah,
funny.
for sure.
I still listen to it to this day. It's hilarious. Anything you want to say before we close out the show?
Let's pack it out. June 14th. I can't wait to see Slugger Jackson get his ass whooped again.
I can't wait either because I just like talking bad about that piece of shit. So
Yeah,
man,
he is a piece of shit.
um,
Reminds me of Chad McCoy. I hope you're fucking listening, Chad.
anyways, with that being said, June 14th, that is the next NAW event over at Nebo, Kentucky, at the Nebo Community Center. The show starts at 7. Doors will open at 6. Tickets are $5 for anyone ages. I'm sorry, free for anybody ages 0 to 5. $5 for anybody ages 6 to 12, and $8 for anybody ages 13 and up. I promise you, folks won't be disappointed. Concessions are provided, and it is a family-friendly promotion. And again, I want to mention the GoFundMe account. It is called Help Ben Build a Future for Indie Wrestling Stars. The link is gofund.me/9 B as in boy 2 F as in Frank C as in Charles 903. And again, folks, keep Kenny Cotton and his family in your thoughts and prayers. And again, keep the family of the late Sabu in your thoughts and prayers as well. Justin Style, thank you again for coming to Grizzly Cave. As always, it's an honor and a privilege to have you here, and definitely need to have you here for a third time. So,
Oh yeah, definitely love to be back. I think we had fun. Maybe next time we'll be more about the wrestling instead of getting off subject. I think it might have been the damn cores, but it is what it is. That's what happens when you show up in person. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying. I love you guys. I'm just fucking with you.
jeez Louise. Oh me, oh me. Well, yeah, yeah, and I did have a few beers, but hey, I mean, we pretty much talked about wrestling. We steered off a little bit, but it was kind of related, or something similar.
The
So
biggest thing is we had fun.
we always have fun. So
Hopefully the people enjoy it.
yes, absolutely.
Be sure to comment. Let us know if there's something y'all want us to talk about.
Yeah, folks. Yeah, again, you can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. So yeah, if there's anything that in particular that you want us to talk about, by all means, comment on it, and we'll rock and roll from there. But anyways, well, folks, for Justin Style, this is Grizzly Andrew signing off, saying take care and God bless.